This place rejects every soul, but there's a catch. Only S-rank heroes can enter this forbidden dungeon. A dark-haired guy in glasses stood among them. In this dangerous place, he wasn't scared. He looked like he was exactly where he wanted to be. Countless adventurers vanish in this dungeon, and the hero's team is next. The darkness is just too deadly. Days ago, life was calm. The leader ordered a total sweep during the move, following the S-class future plan to the letter. The man spots a girl idling. Told she's too weak to lift, she snaps back, insisting she can handle the heavy boxes herself. Tension flares between two men across the way. The kid asks the giant how to handle the guy's unacceptable behavior. The boy grabs the warrior's armor, halting his exit. The swordsman clearly doesn't want to talk, but he stops anyway. Jill, a legendary former swordsman, stared down the leader and again demanded to know why he treated the girl so cruelly. Gadaka, the group's tall leader, glared irritably. He felt too superior to waste breath on someone he considered beneath him. He's here for order and won't stay silent for anyone. Gil warns Hadak to watch his reputation as an adventurer. Sighing in frustration, the man asks the boy point-blank why he hates his leadership style. She tried to stop him to avoid a fight, but he held her back, insisting he do what's right. Gil hates Dak's methods, but he's sticking to their deal and honoring every condition of the contract. Gil asks the man's plan, mocking if he'll call the kids a burden. Geotat's fuming, and Gil tells him to back off the orders. Entering the deadliest dungeon means zero room for drama, but Goha refuses to back down, convinced he's right. Heading out, he warns Hilda, don't stand out or try to lie. In the dungeon, you obey the real boss or get killed for disobedience. Satisfied, the boy watched Gogo in silence. Realizing he couldn't win, the man barked at his subordinates hauling supply crates. Gil starts to leave, but a hesitant voice stops him. He turns to find the girl he saved, looking totally lost and unsure how to act. New assistant Kledaha joins the future project and thanks the guy for the save, feeling embarrassed she couldn't do it alone. Klaha apologizes for the Hada fight, but he shrugs it off, saying he only did what was necessary. Prep complete, the team and supply convoy hit the road for the long trek to the dungeon. Mid-ride, she asks Jill if he really learned his sword skills from a hermit. He laughs awkwardly, stunned Klaheb buys it. After all, he was once called a legendary dragon slayer from the east. She learned about Jill from Hadak. The boy admits his master helped kill the dragon, but brags he could have soloed it. The carriage slams to a halt, cutting him off and sending him tumbling. He grumbles about the ride, but Klaha checks him and gets back to business. The girl grabs the gear and Jill takes a seat, but the guy is fed up with waiting to enter the deadly dungeon. Klahabi sighs, admitting she's just a new hire for future plans. Looking down, she timidly asks Jilly a question that's been eating at her. Klafa spun around, demanding to know how to get stronger, but Gild looked completely clueless. Jill stares in horror, stunned she'd actually ask that. Klahech is clueless why he's reacting so strangely. Stunned, she tries to explain, but he just asks why she chose a total nobody like him. Klaha spent her life dreaming of adventure, and after years of training and prep, she's finally of age to set out as a real adventurer. She's mastering the sword to survive her journey and slay every monster in her path. Cly's dream hit a wall. No one would mentor her, fearing she was too heavy a burden. Joining Future Plan, she's promised special training to rank up and join the main team. Kledaha stayed an assistant, just watching and memorizing. The boy realized the truth. Nobody actually knows how to teach. He knew he was a tactical pick, not a starter, but the power boost the team needed. Gil knew teaching her would be a nightmare. Blushing, she looked down, admitting her request was a massive burden. He asks Klamahow how she'd react to a surprise monster attack, catching her off guard with the sudden pivot. Claudia targets the weak spot, but the boy shuts her down, demanding a new plan. Gil says prep is key, find the monster's spawn point, set the traps, and win before the fight starts. She's stunned by his answer. He grins, admitting it's a trap, but for Klaha, it's the perfect fix. No rules, no fights. Everyone carves their own path. Methods vary wildly, and even the same person shifts with the situation. What matters most is how you adapt and what you're capable of when cornered. Hill warns, one right choice decides the entire battle. No skill is useless. Eventually, it becomes essential. More options mean more power. The right tactic works even when hope is gone, saving the day when you least expect it. He says he needs more knowledge and experience, plus he's gotta stay healthy and avoid injuries. Klaus saw his intensity, but the kid just smirked, calling himself a realist. Gil realized that despite his confidence, he was only strong with a sword and had no other path forward. He only had one real strength, but he knew his limits and didn't waste time envying the gifted. The club is stunned by his harshness, but he reveals he's nearly blind, losing his massive edge. He says a curse blinded him against the dragon, and only his strength boost actually worked. The curse blinded Gil to traps, but he had other flaws. Realizing his struggle, the girl was terrified. Turns out he has zero sense of direction. Worse than a curse, this flaw causes massive trouble. He got lost in his own state before finally arriving. The girl realizes his terrible sense of direction is deadlier than any curse. If his glasses break, he's finished. Alone in the dungeon, he'll never escape. Taken aback by his confession, she stays silent, sensing his struggle. Then, Gil pulls out a small package. It's a glasses case. Hill warns losing it would be a disaster, reminding his assistant that tracking gear is her job. The crew halts, they've reached the dungeon. The pair scrambles out, refusing to keep anyone waiting. Klaha grabbed her gear and left with the assistants. The boy hesitated, then spoke up one last time. Gil offers to train her after the dungeon. She's stunned, so he repeats the promise. He loved teaching sword skills and wasn't too proud to share. His technique wasn't special, just a blend of lessons from many masters. He shakes her hand and accepts the offer, admitting he's not worthy of the honor. Thrilled, Klaha bowed low and grasped Gil's hand, thanking him for agreeing to help. A rare promise was made, and Klaha was hyped. She was finally a real adventurer, no longer just a sidekick in someone else's plan. They shake on it, vowing to finish their talk once they're free, but they have no clue what's waiting for them in this dungeon. 2 hours later, his glasses are shattered, and he's stranded in the dungeon. His nightmare just came true. The girl knows his weakness. Gil drops to his knees, a single tear falling. Despair hits. He knows escape is impossible and survival is a pipe dream. The labyrinth conquest was going perfectly until everything changed. Even S-ranks haven't cleared level 3, but the wave group charges ahead on a safe route from support. The squad tore through their enemies, carving a path to the lower levels. Every floor has a master, a monster powered by the labyrinth to guard it. Unlike other monsters, the master doesn't roam the maze. He stays in the main hall, waiting for adventurers. Normally, the master's room is the exit, but not on level 3. The team's on edge, especially Hodek. Gil charges the monster first to draw its focus. Suddenly, he's hit with something he's never seen before. The plan worked perfectly. The vanguard tanked the hits, and with results like these, no one complained. Armed with only a sword, Gil charged the front lines, fearless of any ranged attacks. It was an easy warm-up, but he felt totally alone. Suddenly, in a blink, his friends appeared right behind him. Godah's iconic sword, the Eraser, is unmistakable. Before the fight, he watches the master sweat while pumping the blade full of magic. The underworld lord was a beast. One miss meant death, and they all knew it. He draws his blade and signals the leader. He'll bait the enemy to create an opening. Suddenly, Godagao snaps. With the boy still in range, he unleashes a massive, lethal magic blast. Gil baited the monster, unaware X was timing his strike while the boy escaped the danger zone. The boy screams for Godak to wait, but it's useless. Godak swings his blade, unleashing a blinding flash of pitch-black energy. Gil had no time to dodge. A monster's paw loomed over him, while Jidaha calmly waited for the end. The monster slams the kid down, triggering a massive blast, and there's no turning back. The shockwave slams the monster, the decoy swordsman, and the whole team, warping space itself. The ground vanishes. Gil plunges into the void, feeling like he's trapped in a surreal nightmare. He looks over to see the level 3 boss floating down beside him, acting friendly. Gil knew this monster wanted him dead. He wasn't about to just lie down and wait for the end. He grips his blade and lunges with everything he's got to slay the beast. He wakes from a blackout to find he's won, collapsed right on top of his enemy's body. Ripping his blade from the beast, he knew the floor 3 boss was no joke. Looking up, he fell into thought. Gil fell too far. He's not getting back up. He finally realized it was a trap. Hodek had set him up to die. This moment was burned into Gil's soul. He couldn't fathom the leader's betrayal. Their petty fight didn't justify this level of cruelty. After a bitter argument, Hodek decides to eliminate his rival. He looks up and roars. When he returns, he won't rest until his enemy pays. He's got a massive problem. He's stranded alone with no way back. Scanning his team for hope, he remembered the girl he met when they first entered this deadly dungeon. He hoped others besides Klaga would still stand against Kodaga's injustice. Only Klaka came to mind, but more girls could have lowered a rope to save him. Guild kicks off his impossible plan by screaming for rescue, but silence follows. The squad is already long gone. Hilden spots eerie creatures watching from the ceiling, frustrated that he's still stuck in his glasses. He checks his glasses, relieved his shield is safe, but over time the lenses finally crack. His glasses shattered, making his next dungeon run a nightmare. Now he's diving into danger completely defenseless. Just as he accepts his fate, the entire dungeon starts caving in. Silence fell. Krakow remembered their recent handshake and his promise that it was all just a coincidence. This level 3 master is lethal. Only magic can win. The leader retreats, leaving the girl alone in Gilly to demand answers. She only realized why he used it after he left. Klehow fearlessly called him out, accusing him of doing it on purpose. Sick of her talking, he lunges, grabs her throat, and slams her against the wall. Clays gasped for air, nearly suffocating, until Gyudja let go and she collapsed to the ground exhausted. He claims even if it was intentional, nobody would dare speak up. The kid is just a charity case. Plainhot wouldn't back down. Outmatched but defiant, she threatened to report him to the guild if he didn't stop. She warns that taxing a guild member will strip his adventurer rank, and if he runs, the law will hunt him down. Klaha claims witnesses saw everything, but Hadaha doubts they'll actually help. Confused by Hadak, the assistant scanned the room for answers. The leader noticed no one backed the girl's story and demanded answers. The team was visibly petrified. It was clear they were all terrified of Hadak. He admits his mistake made Klacha vanish, but the world will just see her as a useless girl telling lies. He reminds Klaha of the stakes and barks at the team to clear the dungeon fast. The assistant sat frozen, drowning in guilt. He fought like a hero, while she could only curse her own helplessness. She couldn't imagine reaching out. Fear paralyzed her, and she did nothing. A squadmate pulls Klenka up, telling her they need to move out immediately. He warns she'll die alone in the maze and must obey Godek. Klaja stares at Garland, hopeless. The assistant wonders why no one saves the victim, but Holland reveals the squad only answers to one man, Gadaha. The country's sole S-class team was untouchable, and no one dared defy the commander. The girl was horrified. How could they just abandon their conscience? Holland says everyone has goals, like supporting family, but Clahed refuses to listen. She couldn't just walk away, even alone. Seeing the assistant's face, her friend told her it was hopeless. Klaja knew the truth but stayed in denial. The man called the search for Gil Lone useless, telling her it happens all the time. Hodland says this is common for adventurers, but the girl refuses to accept it. Lighting a smoke to steady his nerves, he reminds himself once again, nobody dares to speak ill of Gadaki. Claw clenches her fists, rejecting this fate. She didn't become an adventurer to suffer. Hogland comforts her as she apologizes for the outburst. Portland apologizes to the girl, admitting he only joined for the cash. Back at base, Click stays in the guild. Klaha hated returning, but leaving meant losing the max-level labyrinth. Powerless, she had no choice but to submit. 3 months since Jill vanished in the dungeon, Klaja refuses to quit, training relentlessly to get stronger. She knew she'd have to return to that dungeon, find the right floor, and finally reach the person she fought so hard for. Klehow fought on, betting Jill would pull him out. He wasn't dying in this labyrinth. She hit the dungeon daily to stay driven. One day, a fancy carriage arrived. A nobleman was visiting the lab. She spots armored figures surrounding the carriage and realizes it's the Order of the Holy Knights. Klau's stunned. Why is the church's elite unit here instead of serving the king? Something big is definitely going down. Someone shouts at the girl, but the Holy Virgin turns and quietly tells them to stop. The long-haired girl smiled, denying she's a saint, but her modesty only proves her noble heart. Seeing the Holy Virgin, Klahel froze, realizing her influence dwarfed her own. She remembers Godakakis' words. She's just a powerless assistant, unable to fight injustice or save anyone. Remembering Hill's advice to win her way, Clasha finds her resolve and goes all out. She knew she wasn't a real adventurer yet and couldn't handle the struggle alone. Clausel couldn't live with the regret. Stealing her resolve, she marched straight toward the knights in the Holy Virgin. Klaha apologized for the trouble, searching for the right words to get help and save Gil. Wolf-like monsters stalked him through the labyrinth, fish still in their jaws, and they weren't sharing. The kid didn't flinch, gripping the beast and refusing to surrender his prey. He tackles a wolf into submission, sending the rest of the pack fleeing in terror to avoid being next. Hill pins his enemy after a lightning-fast win, but years of isolation make his behavior bizarre. He chuckled and rubbed his forehead, glad he'd quickly crushed the monsters that underestimated him. Staring at his fallen foe, he declares him no longer human. He's a human gorilla with the strength of a true monster. 3 months since he vanished into the dungeon. That's a long time. Later, he's already devouring meat, a rare find in a place like this. He's hit his limit, solo survival is brutal, and the fish he stole from the wolves is rotten. He's officially out of options. Gil barely survived on nothing until he found a priceless crystal inside his dinner fish. He shows the crystal to the boy drawing Godetch, then tosses it away. It's useless in the dungeon. Eating fish every day, he realized the crushing isolation was driving him insane. Gil wondered if he was dead but shook it off. No time for despair. If he kept moving, he'd reach the surface. Gil says goodbye to Gadaki's drawing, vowing to meet him on the surface once he escapes the labyrinth. Gil leaves his shelter and pushes forward. He doesn't know where he's going, but moving beats staying still. The boy once read that people with no sense of direction fall into two types. Type 1, the overconfident ones who charge ahead and get lost without hesitation. Type 2, the insecure. Anxiety makes them panic and ditch the right path for the wrong one, and Gil was exactly like them. Even in training, the kid gets lost, making his master laugh and tease his constant confusion. He was a Type 2, and he knew panic only meant getting more lost. He steeled his mind. He'd never lose his way again. Just as he got hopeful, things spiraled, and he started doubting his choice. The road finally dips down. It's strange, but Hilo doesn't hesitate. He's not turning back. He vows to keep moving forward, but a trap suddenly snaps shut under his feet. Gil thinks he's lost, but he charges ahead with such insane confidence it's like he's already mastered the map. He steps on a hidden button, and a massive wave instantly surges toward him. A wave sweeps Gil off his feet and drags him away. He tries to scream, but can't make a sound. Wave gone, Gil grabs the edge and coughs up the liquid that swept him away. Soaked to the bone, he realizes the trap was genius. It was perfectly hidden. Sensing a presence, he realizes the trap lures victims into position before striking. He snatched his sword and leveled it, ready to strike. Without glasses, he can't see who's there, until his vision clears and he finally recognizes them. A long-haired girl stood before him, staff in hand, but she clearly wasn't looking for a fight. Jill stares at the man who appeared, then spins to find another washed up by the waves. He couldn't believe his eyes. Through his blurry vision, he realized the figure wasn't a monster, it was a real person. She chuckles, confirming she's human but totally unique. Gil's stunned, certain he's dreaming. He apologized, explaining he'd lost his glasses and couldn't see a thing. She holds up 4 fingers to test him, but he deadpans 38. His vision is officially cooked. He fell for the trap, but instead of a monster, he finds a human. Suddenly, a massive crab monster looms over the couple. The creature speaks and he sighs in relief. He knew a monster always follows a trap. She insisted she was human again, but the boy still didn't buy it. The guild's baffled by her calm as a monster looms behind her. The boy draws his sword, ready to protect her. He shouts he's using his hidden blade, making his move clear to the girl. Instantly, he splits the monster in half. Fighting blind, he strikes with lethal confidence. Jill slips on the wet floor and wipes out. The girl rushes over to check on him. She's stunned by his speed but worried for his sanity. He grabs her hands, cheering that she's actually a real person. Tears of joy streamed down his face. After years alone, every emotion hit him with full force. Touching the water, she realizes it's about her, but he's completely clueless. She senses a hidden magic circle in the liquid, but as a normal swordsman, he can't feel a thing. Looking up, she realizes the water brought her here, just like her new friend. The pair found a massive new cave with a towering ceiling. He asks why she's in the dungeon. She was raiding the labyrinth with holy knights, but Gil realizes she's now stuck just like him. He thinks she fought a level 3 master and was sentenced to death by her friend, but she denies everything. A trap warped her here, but she wasn't alone. Unlike her, the holy knights finished their mission perfectly. Armed men drag her to the forbidden 4th level. One wrong step on a button, and she triggers a trap. He's shocked she brought knights instead of adventurers. He hesitates for a second, then decides to spill everything. The girl's a researcher, so Gil invites her to the labyrinth with his knights, and she's all in. 3 months ago, churches claimed evil energy leaked from this prison, but the girl felt nothing. Gil wastes no time asking the girl for a wash, betting her church magic can finally scrub away his long-term filth. She was too shy to suggest it, but when he asked, she agreed, then told him he smelled awful. The Holy Virgin says it happens all the time. Nothing's weird here, so she rushes to grant Jill's request. He's glad they met. In days, she's stolen his soul and he's already losing his head. He looked at her, just grateful she was there. He thanks the girl and twirls, hyped to finally be clean. She asks if his eyes are cursed, stunning him with how fast she caught on. He tells her not to worry, he's already found a way to break the curse. He even praises her magic, impressed she sensed his hidden weakness. He one-shots a massive water crab, leaving her floored, but he just sighs, claiming strength is all he's got. The divine virgin barely spoke before monsters ambushed her again. She froze, paralyzed with fear. A blur blitzed past her, too fast for her eyes to track. He saves his friend again, slicing the monsters in half before she can even blink. She invites her to the base to talk. She agrees, and the guy thanks her for trusting him. He knows the way to the base by heart, and she teases that she's dying to see his secret hideout. The joy died fast. A quick trip turned into a 5-hour slog, leaving everyone exhausted. Her legs are shot from the long trek. He apologizes, but he's got no excuses left. Resting on the shore, the couple catches their breath as the girl finally reveals her name. Holy Virgin Lily is a church member, but her full name is a mouthful, so she suggests some shorter nicknames. She tells him to call her Lily, Leia, or even Aunt Leia to keep things simple. He shares his name, but one question remains. Why is she named Anna? Leia insists she's a 20-year-old adult, but 19-year-old Gil just sighs. He still sees her as a kid. He scrambled to remember his manners, asking Leia if he should be more formal. She just smiled, no respect needed here. He apologized for being rude, but Lily just smiled and told him to talk however he liked. Gil tries to explain, but Lee cuts him off. She already knows the whole story. Before the dungeon, a blonde girl asks her to find Gil. He instantly knows it's Klaha. He's relieved someone remembers him. After months missing, everyone thought Jill was dead. He wept with joy, but she killed the vibe by hoping they'd at least find his body. Definitely not the time for that. It all clicked. He was trapped and cut off, but a man was waiting right behind that door. Leia's stunned. How did he get this far after vanishing on level 3? They hit level 4. Why's Jill going down alone? He reveals he was thrown down against his will, leaving Lily completely stunned. Hill's still clueless about Gaddafi's plan. When a monster spawned, a teammate's strike blasted them both to another level. He's desperate to reach the top. He followed his path until a sudden trap swept him away, leading him straight to Leia. Seeing a human brought instant relief. He was seconds away from losing his mind. She's shocked when he calls himself a gorilla, but he quickly clarifies it's just a metaphor. Lily calls Gil's friend trash and vows to crush him once they escape. For now, Gil's safe. Aunt Lee's got him. He's been missing for 3 months and needs an exit. Leia suggests heading upstairs, just like Jill. The boy warns they're about to face the 4th-level master, but Lily is totally clueless. The beast waited for challengers, but few were as reckless as Gil and Lei. He warns they can't beat this monster, and he knows exactly why they'll fail. He's about to level up when a monster blocks his path. Stuck for days, he couldn't find a way past the monster's overwhelming power. This monster wasn't stronger, just way tougher, and that insane durability was making things way harder for Gil. 0 openings. He can't strike, fearing one mistake will shatter his blade. Glasses could have helped, but he lost them ages ago. Gil stops, calling it a pathetic excuse for his weakness. Too weak to slice the beast in half, he vows to train harder and rests by the water to recover. She's shocked he's thirsty now and realizes his vision is shot. Jill calls the liquid in her palm water, but Lily's not so sure. He eyes the drink and loses his nerve, so Leia offers a magical stomach cleanse. Told to face the boss, he blames a stomach ache and refuses to fight until he gets stronger. Lily promised Jill an easy win against the floor boss, confident she knew exactly what to do. Lily offers to magic him into a real gorilla, but he knows it won't help. Leah's stunned, but Jill reveals he's holding back. This cheap sword can't handle his true power. She thinks he's just flexing his strength, but he shuts her down, insisting she's got it all wrong. Any sword snaps if you're reckless, so backups are key. When his blade shattered, he didn't hesitate, he just bought a new one. Without glasses, aiming was a nightmare. Hearing the boy, she fired off a question. Leo wonders how many hits the monster can take, but Gil calmly claims he only needs one. Staring him down, he made it clear. One full-power strike would drop that level 4 instantly. Lily stayed eerily calm, meeting the statement with dead silence. She calls him confident, but he only trusts his own experience. Inside, he's terrified his only sword will snap. Lose his weapon and he's finished. She knew it. Touching the sword, Leah gives the boy a head start to strike the monster twice. Lily enchanted the sword into an unbreakable, god-tier weapon. Handing back the sword, the boy notices a strange glow. The girl smiles, explaining she cast holy magic on the blade. Gil's stunned Leah knows Surita's sacred text, but she just memorized it during class. Gil's sword isn't sacred, but it's way stronger now. He thanks Leah and promises a favor, making Lily beam. She wishes him luck. He vows to win. 10 minutes to the monster, but she knows the journey will take longer. 3 hours later, they finally arrive. He apologizes for the delay again, despite knowing the way. Leah sighs at the gate, asking to enter. Gil just grins, ready for battle. He shoved the gates wide, and the couple stepped through. Leah and Jill cross the gate into a chilling energy. Their trials have just begun. A massive moose monster appears, but the duo doesn't flinch. The monster roars, but the boy charges head-on. Blinded or not, he refuses to back down. He draws his sword, glares at the beast, and roars he'll destroy it. Leah stared down the beast, realizing it was the nightmare from the Apocrypha she'd read about. Soon the creature's horns draw together, fusing into one. The fused horn monster charges, and the boy lunges forward to clash head-on. Gripping his broken blade, he lunges straight at the enemy. The linked horns boosting the strike suddenly crack and shatter. Gil one-shots the level 4 master. Leaping from the monster's corpse, he realizes he's still got a long way to go. He looks back at the enemy he once couldn't beat and finally feels relieved. He catches his breath to her applause. She praises him, checks if he's okay, and admits he crushed her expectations. Gil succeeded, but it's weird. Before, this technique always shattered his blades. He'd lost count of his past weapons, but Leah knew she had to be useful and help him. She wasn't as simple as she looked. Her massive magic proved she was no ordinary church servant. Leah outclassed every priest, reaching archbishop or cardinal levels, even if he'd never actually seen one. Remembering their talk, he knew her insane skills meant she was way past 20. Hill realized she wasn't a girl, but an ancient grandmother with legendary experience. He looked at his friend, trying to shake the doubt, but deep down he knew it was all true. 3 months in the dungeon, and the boy finally realizes he was wrong, breaking down in tears. Gil fights his rising emotions, realizing he'd let irrational thoughts cloud his mind. Leah approaches the monster and asks the man's name, but he's too blind to see her. Recalling the monster, she searched for its animal match. Lee spiraled, losing touch with reality. Suddenly, she snapped back and finally understood. Lily guessed the 4-legged monster was a horse. Things were complicated, but Leah pushed it aside, stood up, and brushed herself off. She points to the unguarded gates. The way is clear. No rush, he drops the big news on Lily before they head out. Gil admits he's totally lost, but she doesn't get it at first. He looked down, doubting the next level was actually behind those doors. Jill warns Lee to speak up if they're lost, but the girl cuts her off. Lily accepts his promise with a smile, knowing they'll decide their path together. Leah says Jill can trust her aunt's love for adventure. The guy's stunned, he didn't see that coming. Stuck at home, she studies atlases to explore the world. Leah was a lazy shut-in who never left home, but she obsessed over adventure guides and travel logs. Lee points to herself, declaring she's the captain and telling the boy not to worry. Despite his doubts, he followed her lead. It was just easier. Jill's mentor tricked him onto a ship and into a monster ambush, but even in the carnage, the boy stayed ice cold. Thinking as one, the couple pushed forward. Jill and Lee never quit. They charged ahead, certain they were on the right path. Their power doubled. Together, their bonds surged, making victory a sure thing. A month in, the couple reached the dungeon's 5th floor. The road was hell, but their will to survive and break free was unbreakable. Deep in the tunnels, the boy leads the way, dragging Lily along on a makeshift seat. She's not walking alone anymore, but he's clearly hating it. She looks up, stunned. They still haven't reached the surface, and it makes zero sense. Gil's gasping for air, so Leah asks if pulling the cart is getting too tough after their long journey. He says he's fine. Pushing a passenger is just a solid workout. Leah asks if she's heavy, but Gil's silence starts to annoy her. He soon admits the cart is a weak workout, feeling his strength drain by the minute. She laughed with joy, the exact answer she'd been waiting for. Endless climbing proved the labyrinth was massive, and Leah's mind flashed back to the holy night she left behind. Lily felt guilty for vanishing and feared the knight's wrath. Finally, the young man broke the silence. He stopped, whispering that it was finally time they faced the truth. Leah's confused by Gil's vagueness, but after catching his breath, he's finally dropping the truth. He opens his eyes and confirms the obvious: they're lost. Leah turns back. Lily's totally chill, but Jill is a nervous wreck. He snaps it's been too long. No one stays submerged for 4 months. Lily tries to calm Gil, but he brushes her off. The boy admits they've been going the wrong way, explaining why they can't find the exit. She closes her eyes and tells him he still has no clue what's happening to him. Leah says bad navigators come in two types. He's heard the theory, but doesn't see where Lily's going. She smiles at the confused boy, points her finger, and starts explaining. Some people truly lose their way, but that's not Gil, even if he doesn't believe it. She explains they follow pure instinct, and the boy confirms their minds are always in sync. Leah says two people getting lost together is impossible. The odds are just too low. Gil despaired, realizing they'd fallen into this probability. Leah then explained the second type, one that ignores the terrain entirely. They started right, but halfway through, doubt sent them the wrong way. He realized he'd done this before, back when she'd calmly reminded him of what he'd forgotten. Leo brushes past Gil, claiming things just happen, commit to the end, and success is guaranteed. The boy hesitated, fearing they'd find nothing, but Lei reached out and pulled him up. Lily says they have to turn back and find a new exit. Her confidence left no room for doubt. He smiled, finally calming down. A monster crashes their talk, but the girl isn't scared. She's just furious it smashed her ride. He spins and one-shots the monster, slicing it clean in half. Jill remembered her words. She was right, and that realization kept him from losing his mind. The boy wins again just as Leah expected, and she erupts in applause. 120 levels cleared, no turning back. Leah checks on Gil and he nods. He bows and thanks Leah for the lesson. She clearly knows exactly when to act. Lily tells the boy to learn everything while she's still alive, and Gil eagerly nods along. Back in a strange tunnel, the duo hits another fork. Time to choose again. Jill and Lily agreed and headed right. They were in total sync, confirming they'd chosen the right path. They pick the right path instantly, and the boy uses a new move to drag the stubborn girl along. The pair plunges into the abyss without a second thought. Their real adventure starts now. Jill and Lai take a break to refuel on fish and fresh water. The couple ate fast, no time to waste. They'd been in the dungeon too long and needed an exit now. Lily chokes down the fish, fighting a grimace. It's so gross she's nearly in tears. Used to the struggle, he was just happy to eat, finally feeling satisfied and full of strength. Lilia's arrival brought clean water and hygiene. They still couldn't spark a fire, but life was finally improving. Lunch over, Lily tells Gil to hold out his hands, and he obeys without question. Water power washes his hands clean. Leaf smiles and lets go. Gil thanks her, she smiles and heads to bed, and Gil leaves to train. He's still got a lot to learn. Owners are making levels harder, so he must stop relying on the girl and clear them solo. Leah watches him closely, until he realizes she thinks she's holding him back. Lily feared she was holding him back, but the boy quickly set her straight. She was actually doing the exact opposite. She remembered mastering spells that helped everyone. She held the liquid he mistook for water, offering it to him raw and unpurified. Gil's done relying on others. He needs to level up his own skills. He says every elite swordsman knows the truth. Real strength is earned through your own effort, not someone else's help. Jill finishes, but Lee just smiles. She calls it a joke, gets why the guys acted out, and holds zero grudges. He sighs in relief as she calls him sweet, unlike his mentor who always scolded his ego. Lily then tells Jill to drop the formalities. She loves teasing younger guys, but stops to get ready for bed and wishes him good night. As Leia falls asleep, he leaves her in storage and heads out to train. On the road, Gil vents about Lilia. She won't stop teasing him and never takes him seriously. Backing away, his mind raced with problems and questions about his new friend. He knew he'd soon fall for Lily, and the thought instantly flushed his cheeks red. With Leah nearby, training was impossible. He was falling for her. He remembered his mentor's warning, stay away from women. After 5 divorces, the old man spoke from pure bitterness. 5 years ago, he just smiled. He didn't trust a 5-time divorcee. Hill questioned him, so the mentor assigned a brutal mission the boy was forced to obey. Haunted by those words, he swore off women, but he knew it couldn't last. 3 months rotting in a deadly dungeon felt like forever, but just as hope vanished, he met a girl who became his ray of light. A month alone with Leah, and he's catching feelings. He can't help himself. Feeling something new, Hill's master gives him a final word. A back injury ends his time as guardian, so he tells Hill to press on alone. He set out alone, instantly branded as his master's student, but that reputation only brought him trouble. Word spread of Gil's dragon hunt, and everyone demanded proof he could pull it off. He dueled to prove his skill, winning friends only to lose them all. Looking back, he knew his future was hopeless, but he refused to quit. Leah grabs Gil's hand after every meal, making his heart race as Lily flashes a smile. He meditates to focus. With the girl's barrier keeping the dragons at bay, he finally has the perfect chance to train. Proposing to Lily in this heavy tension felt totally wrong. Realizing he'd be a total villain for leaving her no choice, he quickly buried the thought. Gil planned to stay close to Leah after the dungeon and finally confess his love a year later. Meditating, he expands his inner power, letting it surge through his body to sharpen and refine its edge. Wait, is she actually 80? She looks way older than 20. Servants peak in adulthood, so she shouldn't be this strong at 20. His bad vision kept her face a blur. Leah grabs Gil's hands just to magically clean them. She's got zero interest. Resigned to rejection before even confessing, a single tear rolls down his cheek. Lily appears behind the boy, but he's too distracted to notice. The boy screams, then apologizes. Leah woke up thinking he was just cold. She blasts him with magic, but as always, Jill is completely unfazed. Leah sits beside him, smiling as she casts a spell to block the cold. Lily finishes, saying it'll last 10 hours, and warns him to stop pushing and get to bed. As she leaves, Gil asks why she didn't need to touch his hands for magic this time. She reveals her power works without even touching them. Lily walks away, leaving him stunned. Why touch him if she didn't have to? Replaying every meeting with Leah, Hild was left baffled by her bizarre behavior. Watching Leah, he trembles with clenched fists as questions flood his mind. He wondered if Lily was actually an old woman, but surprisingly, he cared less and less. Memories flood her mind. She remembers her savior, but Gil's fate haunts her. She never expected this tragedy. He collapses right in front of her, leaving her gasping and totally helpless to save him. Hearing his voice call her name, she snaps awake in bed. Another nightmare of that day. 4 months later, she still blames herself for being helpless. Back from the dungeon, Claudia's life is stagnant, and the Holy Knight squad is still missing. Racing past the houses, she remembers the boy, but it feels like a dream, as if the labyrinth never happened. Claudia was trapped in a repeating nightmare only she remembered. Every day was a carbon copy, with only the dying autumn signaling time's passage. Cleho pauses her detention, hears her name, and snaps up to face the man. Humblin stands right next to Claudia. She waves and asks why he's there, but he's just out walking the kids. Dad heads out to meet the kids, but they narrowly miss. Halfway there, the kids lag behind, so he stops to wait. She tosses a pillow on the bench to rest, while the girl starts warming up. Claw finished without breaking a sweat, while the sleep-deprived man just yawned. Impressed by her physique, the man asks how she's doing, and Kleiko reveals she runs an hour every day. She crushed 5 sets of 10, varying distance and skipping shortcuts. Every day she tweaked her routine, swapping strength for uphill endurance. Hallion smiles, calling her a future top adventurer, but doubts his own praise. Claha, taken aback, quickly shuts him down. He warns not to overwork. If you're sick, the church heals you, just don't abuse it. Kuled remembers the priests just as a church cart rolls past. The man explains that devotees rise early to serve the masses, and Claha understands perfectly. Holland hesitated, lighting a smoke as he carefully weighed his next words. He sighs, everyone knows the church is targeting the dungeon that erases guilt. Luxury carriages were rare near the dungeons, but for the past month, they've been flooding the streets. Claha mistook them for ordinary knights since they never mentioned the church, leaving the man shocked the church even has such warriors. The holy knights looked harmless, leaving everyone baffled by their arrival. Colin hoped the church's business wouldn't put innocent lives in danger. Claudia tries to confess her deed, but Holland's kids rush in before she can say a word. Exhausted and weak, the kids complain their dad was moving too fast. He laughs and cheers his kids on for finally finishing the task. Hyland tells Claha he's now haunted by everything bright and right. Stroking his daughter's head, he admits his world has long been meaningless. He told her not to take his words too seriously, but to train hard. He knew she'd succeed. Arms behind her back, Clacka thanked Holland and promised to try. Late that night, a cat visits. Surprised, Klabaha opens the door to see her visitor. Arlen, the holy knight, stood before her. She apologized for the late visit and stepped inside. Knight thanks Klafasa for the tea as the blonde sits beside him, smiling quietly. Silence grips the house. The knight holds its breath, ready to spill its secret. Clevel remembered Arlenate fretting over Lilia, but her presence still made no sense. That night, she finally demanded the truth about the dungeon plan from 4 months ago. Arlen claimed the group dodged the inescapable maze, but he was lying. Klopp heard the rumors but refused to believe them. That night, she confronted Gadaki for the truth. The man gave no explanation, only saying they'd skipped the dungeon. Arlen turned to Claw. The knight wondered why the top-rank leader calmly rejected the dungeon on the first try. The dark-haired girl claims Gudaha promised the dungeon was safe, but hearing this, Klaha freezes. Registration errors left Gil off the lists, making his status a mystery. Arlene's also baffled. Why is Gadaki refusing the research? Gil is gone and Godaha's mission is complete, so Kla's ditching the research. He planned to kill him from the start, but she missed the truth. Why? Klinghaz recoiled at Gotuhaze's treachery. Seeing her stiffen, Arlen instantly turned. Klaja hesitated to tell the truth, instead asking Arlenada if she'd seen anything strange in the dungeons. The knight reveals Holy Maiden Lily vanished, warped away by a hidden labyrinth trap. Klakalaka recognized her from before the dungeon, but Arlenade sensed the labyrinth was off. The Holy Virgin interrogated the brothers under heavy guard, but Lily still vanished from the dungeon without a trace. Suspiciously, the trap triggered the second the Holy Virgin stepped on it. The trap only triggers for a specific object, but Klaga's clueless. She never imagined tech this complex even existed. A trap for specific targets sounded impossible, but Arlen knew the truth. The knight warns mistakes are inevitable, sparking doubts that this labyrinth is far more complex than it looks. Arlen presses Flatcho again. What exactly felt suspicious in that dungeon? The group stayed silent, leaving Klaha as the sole witness, and the truth haunted her. Arlen recalls the girl begging to save someone, or at least find the body, during her talk with Lilia. The knight demanded the truth, forcing Klebe to remember everything. Chloe locked eyes with her companion, realizing another shot to change everything was finally here. Later, she grabs a bite at a local spot near her home. She met a gorgeous stranger, but had no clue who he actually was. Dark hair, long lashes, he's so pretty you can't tell if he's a boy or a girl. The man stops at Klaha's table, silent at first before raising his voice. She's socially clueless, but the moment he asks, she silently sits by his side. He apologizes and scans the menu while Klaja eats in silence, deep in thought. The stranger reminds Klavha of Arlenate, another stunning girl who once approached her. Moments later, the guy beside her speaks up, snapping her out of her thoughts. Closing in, the stranger wondered which dish was the best. Cleo tells the newcomers to grab the cutlet steak, it's the house signature. He asks what advice she'd give if he weren't a first-timer. Claudia sensed it, this guy was acting weird. She pauses, then says every meat dish here is delicious. 3 steaks and a mountain of rice, this signature dish satisfies anyone. Klokava warns the portion is massive for a light eater, but the stranger isn't fazed. Sold on her suggestion, he calls the waiter to order the signature dish right away. Not waiting for service, he immediately orders 2 signature dishes for himself. The waitress froze in shock, and the owners faced their toughest challenge yet. 1 serving fills anyone, so the owners knew this massive dish would be impossible to finish. He prepped 2 massive portions, testing if the signature dish lived up to the hype. Plathod failed to warn them, leave food on the plate, and the owners go ballistic. 2 massive signature dishes hit the table, with rice bowls big enough to feed a whole construction crew. Unfazed, he grinned, thrilled by the lightning-fast prep. The hosts knew 2 portions were impossible, and seeing the massive plates, Klaha feared for the stranger. The hosts walk away before he can confess, but he suddenly shouts. He tells Klaha not to worry, he's certain of his path. Grabbing his sticks, he grins, ready to devour the feast. The crowd stared in awe, no one expected this skinny kid to eat so much. He finishes the meal and praises the dish, forcing the owners to admit their mistake. He orders seconds and asks why she's barely eating. She just smiles, saying she's not hungry. He stood to leave, telling Kleinef she wasn't a bad person and leaving her stunned. The stranger stayed silent, staring the blonde girl down with a mysterious smirk. He thanks Klahav for the food tip, drops the cash, and bolts for the exit. Leaving with a smile, he promised to do whatever it takes, sparing no effort. He holds the smiling girl's hand, but suddenly looks back. They're sitting on a flat stone inside a cave. A smiling guy with long black hair and a jacket walks up and greets them. She confirms he's human, but the boy wonders how he got lost. She senses he's good, while the boy's in denial, calling it impossible. The stranger just tells them not. Smiling, he salutes them. He's Uni's, and he swears he's not a threat. They watch him in silence. The boy voices his doubts, the girl agrees, and a stunned Unis is left clueless. At the campfire, Eunice asks if the MC's broken glasses mean he's blind. The boy confirms it, and Eunice finally realizes why he wasn't recognized. Friendship's fire blazes on. He stands by her side, eyes locked on the flame. They chant bonfire repeatedly before the girl turns to Gil, calling his name and asking what she wants from him. The girl smiles at Gil, announcing a flame finally lit their shelter. He pinches his nose, grins in pure bliss, and bursts out laughing. Jill admits she hasn't been this happy in ages. The girl agrees, and they both burst into laughter. Eunice smiles at the group, then suddenly signals a mysterious halt. Let's go with Jill and the girl head to bed, but Eunice tells them to wait while he finishes his chores. The girl worries the fire will die, but Eunice stands, eyes sparking with a fresh idea as he asks the guys for their take. The boys watch him pinned down as Eunice reveals Kurok is a future plan, member, and captain of Arlen's 4th Holy Knight Squad. Jill and the girl sit. She asks how Eunice knew the station name, but he just smirks, asking if they're that into him. Hand on chest, he smiles and introduces himself. Eunice, the solo Supreme Star Mage. The boys are stunned. Jill asks about the Archmage again, and the girl wonders if he's history's youngest legend. Eunice confirms it. MC is stunned, and Eunice expected them to be closer since they're all the same age. Eunice recognizes the boy as the poison dragon slayer, Jill. He stares back, calling her Lily, the saint of the islands. Jill and Lily stare at the guy, lock eyes, and point at each other. Jill asks who's the saint, while Lily wonders who's the killer. Eunice stares them down, pointing. She smirks, her eyes asking a silent question. After all this time, they're still total strangers. He demands to know, what have they even been doing? Jill claims they were just fishing, drinking, and finger wrestling, but Eunice stares them down, her smile completely gone. He grins, calling it interesting, while the MC mentally labels him a total weirdo. Jules asks how Eunice got here. Eunice says his journey was way easier than theirs. Eunice explains he tracked Lily using the same magic circle that warped her from the 4th floor, leaving her stunned. Eunice points at the boys, claiming he's the one who should be shocked, not them. Survival wasn't enough. To reach these depths, they needed each other. Jill and Lily listened in silence, weighing his words. Eunice confirms the rumors. Their strength is real. Lilia just laughs, clutching her head. He eyes the girl, looks up, and drops a single letter. B. She stares back, completely stunned. Jill screams in despair, asking if she sees the chaos. He knew they were doomed all along. Lily eyes him with suspicion, calling this a valuable lesson. Jill asks if she'll use it against him. Lily freezes in confusion, but she finally finds her nerve and speaks up. She reminds him he agreed to everything, so the blame isn't just hers. Her words cut deep. Lilia demands accountability, but words still wound God. MC's down as Lily watches. He apologizes, admitting she was right, and Lilius calmly notes this is much better. Flat on the ground, he realizes he took the wrong turn first. He remembers holding that inscribed stone with Lily. They're both equally responsible for landing here. It was all his fault. Now he's terrified Lily will remember. If Lilia remembers, he'll be begging on his knees. She's lost in thought. Lily remembers everything and blames Gil for leading them astray. Gil cuts her off, shouting for Eunice to save them. Eunice says yes, then immediately denies it. Eunice thought they'd hit a high-level boss early, leaving the team cornered. He never expected a monster this powerful so deep in the dungeon. He asks them to hide their solo dungeon run, but Jill instantly shuts him down. Eunice smirks, admitting his embarrassing mistake, but Jill screams out, denying every word. Eunice stares at the fallen MC in shock, confessing she never wanted this. Tearful Jill explains the route, but Eunice presses her until she admits they just have topographical criticism. Lily watches silently. Eunice spreads his arms in total confusion, asking what's going on. Jill collapses, realizing they weren't escaping, they were just sinking deeper. He looks away, begging her not to laugh. She bursts out anyway, so he snaps that he wasn't even talking to her. Eunice watches the boys until Jill calls him out. He apologizes, calling the encounter a wild coincidence. He realized they both have zero sense of direction and were born to get lost. Jill claims it's true, but Eunice arrived alone, staring the guy down with a silent smile. MC senses danger and wants to stop, but Eunice dismisses the warning, admitting he knows them both. Let's try to be even more direct. He recounts the sword hero slaying the East's poisoned dragon and Lily, the saint who saved an entire island from flooding. Eunice remembers the massive flood and the barrier she cast to save everyone. Lily adds her mentor was right there. Jill admits the islanders helped him, but Eunice is dying to know what they know about him. He's still pointing. Lily links him to the stars, while MC recalls Eunice is history's youngest archmage, and that's all he knows. Lily asks if he's invented a new magic. Eunice smiles, she's right. He traces the air, sparking a mysterious pattern. They don't know new magic has secret requirements, but this display alone blows their minds. Eunice sits on her lap, Arcs manifest around them as he struggles to explain. Circles formed. Eunice knew he only survived because of his old teacher. These people held the key, but their answer was suddenly cut short. MC screams his name, but the boy is stunned and clueless, asking how to help since he has no idea what Eunice is talking about. Eunice claims his star magic makes things easy, but the MC isn't buying it. Eunice smirks, revealing he's a legendary archmage. Even without the light of the stars, he can still use his power. MC stares, processing the words, as Eunice watches with a smirk. He taps into his strength, then Jill's jaw drops. Jill glares, demanding he quit stalling and get to the point. He clutches his chest, claiming his heart is about to jump out, as a shocked Eunice asks if he's serious. He offers to help, but the guy signals he's only at 20% power and totally helpless. He looks up and drops to his knees, screaming in pure confusion. Jill clutches her head, jaw agape. Before her stands a swordsman who perceives space like no one else. Lily sees him as totally unpredictable. She's pious, but has no clue how to handle this. Eunice smiles, wondering where it went wrong. He's a magician who's lost his touch. A squad of total losers. They'd win at bingo, but here they're failing. The adventure rolls on. Footsteps echo on the water. Eunice asks if they've really been stuck for 3 weeks. Jill sighs. They've tried everything, but nothing works. The trio strides forward, rippling the water as the MC taps the wall. He tells the guys that's the real problem, but Eunice looks up and freezes at a shocking sight. A massive patterned slab blocks their path. Eunice is stunned. What are these giant doors doing here? They're all staring. He admits his sword did nothing. Eunice asks again, and Lilia confirms the attack failed. She spots a magic circle on the door, but the pitch-black darkness hides the details. Lilia eyes the door while the girl asks Eunice for help. The boy grins, promising an easy rescue. Light flashes around him as the water beneath his feet begins to stir. Strange creatures burst from the water behind him, leaving him stunned. He looks back at the figures, now towering over everyone. MC wonders what it is, but Eunice shrugs it off as an ordinary spell. He filled the door's grooves with water and flipped the imprint onto the ground like a page, keeping the shape flawless. Lilia scans the door's water imprint on the ground. Eunice decodes the magic circle's purpose as Lily looms silently behind him. Eunice's eyes snap open in realization. Jill's stunned as he reveals he knew everything all along. He asks if they realize it's pure luck they're here, while she touches the magic circle. She denies it, but Eunice stares her down. He doesn't believe in coincidences. Lily scans the patterns, stunned to find an apocryphal magic circle and a beast right here. Eunice reveals the labyrinth was built by design, and the creator is tied to the fallen king. 2 illustrated books. In Rastafarianism, non-canonical sacred texts are called apocrypha. An eye forms from white lines. The apocrypha isn't just fiction, it's real. White rays burst from the eye. Ancient texts tell of a survivor from the king's fall and the disaster that nearly ended the world. Then his battle with God's apostle, Rasti. She aims her staff at the white lines and light pours from it. Eunice snaps, grins at Jill and Lily, and tells them to recap together. Pointing at the pair by the magic circle, he admits they both have zero sense of direction. He turns and realizes the kid is way too scared to run away alone. Eunice grins, telling the guys not to worry now that he's part of the crew. They've spent 4 months wandering the wrong way, or maybe they started here, but they still managed to crush several floor bosses. Lily finally gets it. Jill eyes the clueless guy as Eunice drops the truth. They're apocryphal beasts. Silhouettes close in, the fallen king's beasts from the Rasti fight. Some say they're part of the king himself, but ignore that. Eunice tells Jill of a legend who rivaled an entire country. It took a whole army to stop them, and she hangs on every word. Annoyed, the MC asks about the country, admitting it's possible while Lily sits quietly behind. She points at Jill, demanding to know if she's exaggerating. Confused, Jill denies it, and she pokes his cheek. She remembers the monster Guild killed. The horse he split in half was named Nightmare. Lilia asks how he'd react if it were just a small animal, catching him off guard. He's stunned only a child is left standing. She asks if he finally noticed. MC brushes off Lily's hand, asking if these beasts are real. Eunice listens as he admits he thought the apostle wiped them out years ago. Jill knows rumors hold truth, like the beasts lurking here or the fallen king building this maze. Eunice agrees, it's all too real. He studies the monster sketches, confirming traces still remain. Eunice inspects the door's symbol. It's straight from the apocryphal texts. Lily grabs Jill's hands, eyeing Eunice. She asks if he knows this is pure magic. She's seen this before. He suspects Rasti used a rare magic circle from the ancient Apocrypha. He offers to make Lilia his apostle to help her mature, but she shuts him down instantly. Lilia eyes the door and notices this magic circle is different. This barrier doesn't just keep people out, it traps whatever's hidden behind those gates. He waves the wand, realizing if Rusty made this spell, it's better left alone. Yuma disagrees. Jill's clueless, but Yuma explains there's a key to break the curse. Lilia agrees, while MC envisions a key. Unis realize that even if this Rasti-level being wasn't human, it still mastered a perfect magic circle. It's complex, but holy magic can still break it. It has to be destroyed. Jill eyes a thoughtful Eunice, who finally speaks. This labyrinth is tied to the fallen king. He stops at the circle, acting as a checkpoint for Rasti. Any magic user can pass, as long as they don't serve the fallen king, and Eunice steps up to explain. Lillian and Jill wait for answers, but the guy stays silent, taking his time. He spreads his arms, admitting he's clueless. Jill's so stunned she faceplants straight into the water. Soaked, Jill finds him asleep. Eunice hugs him, calling it a prank, as Lily joins the laughter. Eunice drags the MC, along as Lilia admits they're clueless, and Eunice confirms they have zero leads. The man returns, asking if he's an adventurer and what he knows. Our hero turns around. Eunice clings to him, asking what he knows about the labyrinth before they dive in. MC claims he knows nothing, but Eunice won't quit, pressing him on whether he's even checked the map. Jill tells Eunice to stop, admitting he's just hired help, not an adventurer. He warns of deadly monsters in the labyrinth while Lily watches them closely. Surrounded by stone pillars, our MC appears, looking way too weak for an adventurer's license. He screams Yamana's name, then slumps to the ground in a blind rage. Jill snaps that Eunice is a scoundrel, but he just laughs, revealing the guy will be fine the second he exits the forbidden zone. Lily sighs in pity as the guy breaks down in. Eunice admits it's weird and Lilia agrees, but Jill tells them to drop the subject already. She claims he knew too much, like he planned this with Hill from the start. Eunice reflects. She eyes him closely, demanding answers. Irritated, he snaps back, asking how he's supposed to know. He remembers two people and admits he has no reason to lie. Eunice doubts Jill's just unhappy, and the MC asks why. Lily and Eunice eye the guy, Eunice suspecting they were lured here on purpose. He calls Gil the era's greatest swordsman, insisting a legend like him isn't here by accident. Gil tells him to stop the hype. He's not that strong since he never even. Eunice isn't sure, but soloing a legendary monster makes him top tier, leaving the guy feeling awkward. Eunice held back because he lacked points. Jill shuts him down. Keep acting like the strongest, and a hidden master will humble him. Two thugs call him arrogant, but is a man who slays legendary beasts even human. 4 months in the ultimate maze, and Eunice was already legs stronger than when he started. Blushing, he admits he's fought enough and calls it quits, until his eyes lock onto his finger. Tapping the stone, he admits pride is his enemy. Lilia and Eunice nod, while Jill nurses her swollen finger, joking if mocking him is the new trend. Eunice tells Lilia to quit teasing Gil, but Jill's stunned. How could they trash his pride like that? Still conflicted, the man makes a proposal. As Lilia treats Gil's finger, he asks Eunice what's going on. Eunice suggests the boys enter the gates together. Jill and Lily eye him warily. Eunice spread her arms wide. He watched intently, waiting for her to explain. Jill came to win, but now she's in too deep. She wants to run, but admitting it would look weak. Fist clenched, the boy confirms he's sticking to the plan. Eunice smirks, asking about Lily. If they stall, everyone will worry. MC tells Lily not to worry. He expected the delay. She stares back, wondering where he gets such confidence. Leaning in, he warned Arlena the journey would take months. Don't worry for at least half a year. Lily thanked him. Eunice tells Lily and Jill they've come too far to turn back. It's better to hit the bottom and find an exit there. Jill realizes teleporting to the exit is genius. Eunice smirks. That was her plan all along. He points to a glow on the floor, his heart, a massive sea of mana hidden deep in the labyrinth. With a wizard, they can use this power to teleport. Eunice reveals they actually have the magician, and hearing this, Lilia immediately steps up to join. Scanning the bizarre labyrinth, he realizes he's missed his shot at the Three Saints mission. He sighs, dreading the massive grind to reach these depths again. He warns they'll never assemble a team this strong again, and Jill demands answers. MC smirks, asking Eunice if she really wants them to figure it out alone. Lilius grins, revealing he and Gil reached these depths with zero effort. Eunice joins the squad, vowing they're now an invincible team. He looks up, claiming the Saints and the Federation both foresaw this darkness. Upon arrival, he already encountered heretical beasts and a magic circle. Yunis is haunted by a constant dread that disaster is coming. He bows low, asking for help. Lily watches with a gentle smile. She grabs his hands, thanks him for the save, and can't wait to team up. MC admits he's grateful. Without him, they'd still be wandering the labyrinth. Jill sizes things up, wondering whose gut leads them next. Yunis and Lily start rock, paper, scissors, but the MC jumps in and stops them. Jill waves them off, refusing to play. The girl asks why, and he admits he still can't see a thing. Yunis tells the boy to touch their hands, but the MC knows they can change their minds instantly. The girls trade looks as Jill reveals he knew they were plotting something all along. The guys protest, calling it unfair and questioning his trust, while Jill realizes she wants zero part of this responsibility. He knows if he leads them astray after that speech, he'll take the fall for the failure. He yells for everyone to stop, demanding a group vote. He refuses to lead alone. She snaps, reminding Gil he's the reason they're lost. The memory stings. MC throws his head back as Yunis asks to speak frankly. Yunis yells he's useless, and the MC admits he's no better. He asks why he's being accused. She says it's because he led them. Reaching out, he reveals he's already found a solution. He tells them to split up and regroup, but the crew just stares in silence. Dead serious, he declares, the first one back leads everyone. Yunis and Lilia watched him in silence, lost in thought, until Yunis finally spoke up about what happened. Stone towers hang overhead. Yunis is hyped, and Jill counts to 3 before charging. Yunis and Jill stand together. Yunis is thrilled to see Lily, but Jill never expected a reunion. She grips her stick, exhausted. Yunis wins in 4 hours, Jill takes second at 5, and Lilia crawls in last after 9. The girl collapses in tears, praying, while Lilia shouts with joy, thanking them for returning safe. Tearing up, Yunis calls it the pinnacle of human achievement. He applauds, wondering if anyone is more foolish than him. Jill's hyped everyone made it back, and he even snagged second place. The group calls him fickle and ugly, but he screams it's a total lie. Next day, the massive door symbols glow. The sealed gates finally crack open, revealing the dark, endless labyrinth ahead. Standing in the rain, he stares at the sky and questions his purpose while Lily and Eunice watch closely. They watch him from the boulders, waiting for an answer. A month later, and the mission is going surprisingly well. The guys start off polite. Eunice asks to tag along to learn the ropes, and Jill and Lily back him up. Unison forms a guild to hunt a monster she spotted, but the MC takes charge, lets out a war cry, and slashes the beast. MC shreds the monster, leaving Lily watching in pure admiration. Yunis adapted fast. MC readied his sword, but magic beat him to it, stealing the kill right in front of him. Energy pulses from Eunice's hands. Jill and Lily praise his massive growth, and he beams at the compliments. Magic patterns ignite as the conductor commands the rain to vanish. The boys look up. Yunis raises his hand, showing it off. Suddenly, the first drops fall. Heavy rain hammered down, killing the beasts that couldn't survive the storm. Yunis grins at the sky, satisfied with his own rain, as Lily gets caught in the downpour with him. Gil credits Yunis for the lack of monsters lately. Yunis asks if that's bad, and Gil admits his sword hasn't left its sheath in days. He breaks down, crushed by his own helplessness. Lily stays silent while Yunis watches, curious about his sudden collapse. She realizes her barrier is useless. The monsters can't reach them, and Yunis can shield them from above anyway. Lilia realizes their matching spells make them interchangeable. Jill bursts into tears, realizing his secret sword's name is tied to the moon and stars. Yunis breaks down, begging them to stop the sad talk. Jill and Lily stare in shock. The boy smiles and apologizes for feeling empty, but they just mock his fragile spirit. Everyone pushes forward. Eunice knew this was inevitable, and she's been dying to meet those two. Looking up, he admits it's his first time hanging out with someone his age. He's glowing with joy, admitting he can barely contain his excitement. It feels like a fun field trip, and Lily laughs, calling him a sweet guy. Eunice clenches her fist and asks the boys if they've ever hiked. Lily admits she was there, but she's exhausted. The MC asks if they're at a picnic and cheerfully confirms it. Lily recalls a massive childhood library, but Eunice sighs. He never had it that good. MC asks if he attended that elite academy for kids, but Eunice denies it, claiming none of his peers ever made the cut. He was a nobody, but everything changed when he joined the academy, using his teacher's rare connections to land right in the heart of the action. The girl asks if it's his first trip, hyped for the thrill. Eunice smiles and confirms it's his first time. Hands up, Eunice wants to scream for joy, but Jill warns them to stay sharp. This is the toughest maze yet. He looks up, remembering his words. They're 3 times stronger now. He can't relax alone and shouts to join the guys. The trio reunites and rejoices together. Eunice admits it's hopeless. These guys are the absolute best, the strongest team in existence. To clear this labyrinth, humanity must hit its peak. Eunice says these obstacles are natural. It'd be weird if they weren't here. Lily smiles at his chatter. He admits he's self-absorbed. Lily just smirks, saying it's already obvious. She admits their insane power ruins their sense of direction. Eunice thinks he's fine, but Jill jokes she's the only one constantly lost. The girl sighs, hoping she is. By the fire, Eunice wonders why the S-rank team stalled on floor 3. He takes a bite of fish and immediately gags. It's disgusting. Lilia asks again. Eunice claims they were the best and should have gone further, but the MC disagrees. Jill eats her fish and warns the team. The third-floor boss was way too strong. Unison eyes him, asking if it was really that hard. He nods, biting into his fish. Grabbing food, he looks up, remembering when he truly wanted to die. Recalling past battles, he knows if this is an apocryphal beast, it's the strongest he's ever faced. Eunice asks if the monster is stronger than the nightmare. Jill confirms it. Eunice stops him. This isn't what he heard. The man stares back, weighing his options. After his transformation, he became a lethal nightmare, but what followed was pure horror. Standing on stone shards, the boy faces the hovering beast as its many clawed arms lunge to grab him. The beast roars, snapping its jaws as tentacles burst from its mouth. Glasses guy sees it all. The beast mutates into a terrifying nightmare right before our hero's eyes. A giant eye opens at the monster's core. Without his poisoned dragon Rancup, Hill would be dead. Lily finally gets his past. Jill knows that without that trauma, he'd be dead by now. Firelight glows on the group as the boy calls their journey a miracle, asking if they've seen anything like it. They nod, they've been through this before. She says many never felt this. Kids always asked if her stories were real. She told the truth, but they called it a lie. Struggling to explain, they asked, "What did you feel then?" The girl's ominous arrival terrifies the kids as she admits her story was a total lie, making the boy snap and call her a liar. Eunice insists she told the truth, even when no one believed her. She calls his name, snapping him back to reality. Eunice apologizes for spacing out. He has no proof, admits he's overthinking, and tells them to ignore it. Lily dons a mustache, joking she sounds like a doomed detective hero as Jill laughs along. She spots the next door and alerts him. Startled, he asks if it's his turn. Eunice laughs, calling him lucky to go first. They bicker over the door. Black doors appear, the final passage to the labyrinth's core. Opening them takes 10 full days. They pushed on in high spirits, but 2 days later, 2 of them were dead. Smoke plumes skyward. Beside it, a gloved girl hugs her knees. The girl sits in her home's charred ruins as a man approaches from behind, offering his sympathies for the fire. He hands her a package, saying it's for her. She accepts and thanks him. He asks if she's hurt, but she's fine. She spent all night doing paperwork at HQ. Smoke rises from the man. He asks if the knights investigated. She shakes her head. The Holy Knight only promised to watch her. The scarred man puffs his smoke and asks if it's related. The girl's shocked. She has no idea what he means. He says he vanished yesterday. Stunned, she asks him to repeat it. Flicking his ash, he tells them the search failed and calmly pops the cigarette back in. The man orders Kuraha to flee. She's stunned, but the reason is simple. The Archmage of the Stars has entered the labyrinth. They were rank A, but Gagadach forced a promotion beyond their limits. Things get messy, and he finally realizes this story is way deeper than it looks. Stunned, she asks if the story's really that complex. He nods, it is. Smoke billows from the buildings. Panicked, she asks where the others are. They're trapped alone. He keeps smoking, questioning it all as he clutches his face for answers. The moment he grabbed that magic sword, everyone switched sides to obey him. Looking down, he says everyone has a reason to fight, then begs the girl not to become like them. Hersey's passion is cut short when a stranger approaches and calls the man Holon. Glass's girl tells him to spill everything if he's serious, leaving Holland stunned. The girl in a raincoat appears. Kureka stares silently while Holland grins, cigarette in hand. 2 boys race forward, but looking back, their circle is unrecognizable. The friends they once knew are long gone. The boys bolt from the massive beast as the dark-haired kid glances back. 2 boys and the monster plummet off the cliff, one screaming for someone to act. The mage draws circles while his partner readies his staff. Magic bands snare the beast, freezing it midair. They aren't the strongest, but their clever teamwork wins the day. Soaring upward, the boy draws back and fires, his arrow streaking straight for the monster. The wing master dives, screaming with his eyes locked on the monster. Suddenly, a hand grabs the hilt. The arrow strikes the fanged beast's chin but bounces off. Someone yells, "Nice shot, okays." Mages order Hadak to fight, and a soldier's shield tosses him forward. He draws his blade, claims he understands everything, and cleaves the monster in two with a single strike. The team celebrates their victory through perfect coordination. Goglin beams, calling them the ultimate squad. Haglin shakes Hadak's hand with a grin, claiming he's a completely changed man. Corlin sits with two girls, boasting about his years of legendary leadership while they hang on every word. Grabbing a mug, he claims the team peaked back in their ob-rank days. The rest joined at once. Held back in other squads, this team became their ultimate reboot. Holland remembers his smiling partner, Hadech. Weapon strapped on, he says Hadech was special. Kura confronts Goland for backstabbing his ally, a betrayal she remembers perfectly. He agrees it all started when he pulled the sword of Hudech from the water. The moment he touched that magical blade, everything changed. Remembering the aftermath, he grips his magic sword with both hands, inspecting it. Teammate calls Haddox to leave, but Hodlin just stares back, taking a slow drag of his cigarette. He watches Haddox study the sword's circle. Holland reports the truth. He's a totally different person now. The girls watch closely as Kuraha asks Holland where they found the sword. He remembered the sword from the A-rank dungeon's middle floor, a watery expanse called the face of the ocean. The girl in glasses recognized it from the reports too. She asks Hulin for a saltwater spot, and he nods. Over steaming coffee, the girl asks if magic swords are hidden here, but Holland explains they're only found in ancient ruins. Holland remembered pointing at the sword's round mark, noticing the cracks. They find the blade. Gonklund figures its owner is dead, but the girl keeps asking questions. He remembers the giant snake. In B-rank dungeons, wiped or retreating teams leave loot behind. He remembers the diamond, but that enchanted sword is too valuable to leave behind during a retreat. Karakul's shocked, claiming his master is dead. Holland simply nods. He raised the sword, instantly erasing their weakness and blasting them straight to rank S. He stands over the monsters he slaughtered, leaving his team frozen in shock. The man turns his back on Hadech. Hanlund claims he's been off ever since. He puffs his cigarette, eyes locked on Godek. He walks away without looking back, leaving Holland stunned. Holland remembers mimicking his friend as kids by a woman's side. Years later, he still has people to protect. He visualized his younger self and quit the group before things went too far. He remembers the sword's circle and entering the room. The kids cheer, "Dad's back," welcoming him home. Golan finds his family dining with a stranger, his own sword standing right behind the man. She grins wickedly, telling him his family is truly wonderful. Kids feast with chopsticks while Mom watches on, smiling in her apron. He lowers his sword and grins, hyped to keep teaming up with Highland, who's just as satisfied. Golden smokes, noting everyone has loved ones. Recalling her own isolation, the girl asks, "Is that why no one helped Gil?" Holland agrees. Glasses girl notes it's no wonder this stayed a secret. Kuraka asks they want the truth about his family, but is it really worth the cost? He sips his drink, eyes the girl, and shuts his eyes to ponder. Holy Knights have been staking out the house for days. If he shows up, they're attacking. Does he get it? Glasses girl smirks at his sharp eye, confirming backup arrived days ago. Havland hums, squinting over his mug. He steels himself to speak, slamming the cup down with a thud. He eyes the girl, demanding to know how they're tied to all this. They lock eyes as Holland demands to know why the church joined the game. She reports the Saint Order's top knights suspect the fallen king is behind it all. Kuraka and Holland stare in horror, while the girl acts completely unfazed. Something falls on his ally. Shocked, he asks what she means, reaching out to call it a total fairy tale. He tenses, asking how thousand-year-old texts link to the present. Kuroha's stunned, is the fallen king still alive? She gets their confusion. Hudlin admits he still can't link the fallen king to these events. Glasses girl points to the three nearby, confirming it's the saints' offer. Bearing a symbol, she reveals they shared the same prophecies as the magical empire. Eunice warns me. Gorland, the Saris archmage, is sitting there with his hands free. He looks up, face in hand, asking if they're really linking him to the dead king. She tells him they're sticking to this version, leaving Kuroha stunned. She eyes the shaking cup, just a hunch, but connect the dots. She thinks the magic sword belonged to the fallen king, but Kuraka suddenly lunges across the table, gripping it tight. She stands, shocking the room. As they stare in disbelief, Kurak spots the mug trembling again. She asks if they feel it. They agree, hearing a strange noise, when white smoke suddenly erupts in the city. They scrambled outside to investigate, eyes glued to the sky in shock. Goratlin freezes, eyeing the strange object. All he sees is a bird's wing sticking up. A giant bird bares its fangs and strikes. Everyone knows instantly, this isn't just a creature, it's an apocryphal beast. He slices the monster in half to finish it, stunned by just how dangerous the beast really was. Yunis claps, calling Gil useless for now. Jill just smirks. He shoulders his blade, grins at Yumani, and tells him he finally gets it. Monsters dive at Gila. He grips his blade, past the second gate. The feeling lingers. Jill shreds one monster while another hangs back, eyes locked on her. Jill decapitates the beast, but the MC realizes it's grown too strong. Their levels just skyrocketed. Yunis' magic is no longer an edge, but he's not panicking yet. They can all match that giant horse now. These enemies are in a completely. It's shredding monsters. If just one escaped this labyrinth, it would level an entire town. Jill scans the maze's layout and asks the guys if they find it just as complex. They hit floor 170. Just how high does this building go? They stop. MC guesses 200 floors, but Yunis calls out exactly 216. The crew's shocked by his precision until he reveals the math, 6 cubed. Lilia looks up, announcing the end is near. The boys stare back in silence. She shyly calls it a premonition, while MC jokes the holiday is a prophecy. Yunis laughs, agreeing he's right. Jill and Eunice bolt from the enraged Lily as Jill snaps at the Archmage's recklessness, while Eunice apologizes, explaining his senses fail away from the stars. Yunis feels better at home, but the girl suddenly slaps Gil so hard he hits the deck. He questions his path as an adventurer, but Lily reminds him this life is never easy. Yunis hates this place. He's not sticking around. Without Jill and Lilia, the hero never would have pulled this off alone. He looks up. Jill realizes staying with that group would have only held him back. He sighs, trying to ignore their weakness, but their pathetic skills prove they can't handle even a few monsters at this level. Only as a trio did they survive this labyrinth. Jill says it all adds up. Lily's stunned. Jill quickly apologizes, admitting she just blurted it out. Lily notices he talks to himself way too much. He went to object, but she lined in and whispered, he was right. Lilia brings up his old catchphrases, asking if he's forgotten. He admits he might have, and Yunis smiles. Yunis envies him, wishing he'd joined the quest sooner. The girl finds his naivety sweet, as he admits he's always wanted friends his age. Lily smiles, suggesting they trade letters to stay connected after they escape. She tells him he's involved too. He's stunned, but she just smiles cryptically, forcing him to ask if she's for real. She calls him a soulless addition, but he fires back, claiming he's hitting the road soon and won't be around to receive mail. She imagines letters crossing islands and tells him to share his destination so she can mail them ahead. Jill asks if it's possible, and she gives a hesitant nod. Lily points right in his face, grinning. She claims her handwriting is so cute he'll faint from shock. She pulls back and he rubs the spot. Crying happy tears, Eunice asks Gil to do the same. He vows to bury him in 7 weekly ciphers, leaving Jill stunned by his needlessly complex plan. Eunice and Lilia wait for an answer, leaving our hero stumped and scrambling for words. Jill's cool with it, making Lily and Eunice beam. The boys freeze as a giant eye looms over the massive doors. They check it out cautiously, but it's not as scary as it looks. They push forward. If Lily is right, the exit is close, but the girl admits her legs are numb from the grueling trek. The boys signal, but Jill warns them to stay sharp. Eunice and Lily agree. A boy touches the wall, asking if they're ready. Eunice smiles as Lily squares up, declaring they're ready. The boy grins back. He recalls falling into the abyss, comparing this chaos to where it all began. MC realizes the adventure isn't scary and grabs the door. Jill pushes, ordering Sesame to open as the crew watches. The door clicks. He spots glowing orbs before a sudden, agonizing blow shears him in half, leaving him collapsed and missing half his body. He spots a strange flash in the dark doorway. He shoves Eunice away, leaving her in total shock. Eunice drops. Jill lunges for the sword, but she's too slow. The enemy severs his arm. Eunice falls and the MC, missing half his torso, plummets right after him. Eunice spots a shadow near the MC. It's just a glowing bird. The bird spits a magic sphere straight at Eunice, and the boy freezes in shock. The monster blasts a beam at Eunice, but Lilia saves him. Lily grits her teeth, straining to hold back the bird's attack as stone debris flies everywhere. A blinding flash snaps her head back as Eunice watches in horror. He stares at the stars, bleeding on the floor with a hole through his mouth. Raising his burned hand, he he commands the eastern stars to bow. Yunis blasts the boy with a beam he can't stop, forcing his head down as the light keeps coming. The sphere clicks and magic runes flood the floor, forming a massive clock. Yunis can't stop the monster's flash. The clock hand trembles. The clock snaps back, time just rewound 1 second. His head hits the floor. He tries to look up, but his eyes grow heavy and shut. One thought remains. He opens his eyes. Jill spots the white shadow. It's his soul. The MC stares back, stunned. He stares into the flash, a blinding light ready to blow. He reaches out, and Jill stares wide-eyed at the sudden flash of light. His soul rises before the flash as Gil reaches out to grab it. Just as he envisioned, his soul lunges forward, reaching out and leaving a visible trail. He raises his sword, soul merging with steel exactly as he's practiced 1,000 times. He's closing in on his goal. His soul reaches for the sword, finally touching the hilt. His cracked hands have held this blade 1,000 times, his soul now gripping the cold steel. He grabs his sword, charges, and unleashes his deadly technique. He lunges, drawing his sword as flashes of light race across the blade. Eyes on the bird, he reveals his secret sword technique and tightens his grip, ready to strike. A flash of steel leaves a faint trail, slicing the bird clean in half. The boy slashes the bird again while the heroine watches coldly, sword leveled. This is lunar sleep. A split bird thuds right next to the kneeling MC. Jill collapsed to the floor, gasping for air through his tears. Tears streaming, he clutches his face in terror, unable to process what just happened. The boss stepped in and immediately blindsided him with one strike. He remembers the light piercing the dark and stares at his hand, wondering what he's become. Lily's scream snaps the hero back. She begs Eunice to stay still, and he freezes in shock. Jill's shocked as the bleeding Eunice laughs, claiming it's over. She wastes no time patching him up. The boy groans in pain, but she snaps at him to stay silent. He stares at Eunice and Lily in disbelief. Eunice finally sighs in relief. He beams with relief, admitting he knew it was the end. The trio sits as Eunice confirms he's dead. Jill was right, pride is the true enemy. The dejected MC huddles before Eunice as she calmly vows to live a humble life. Terrified, Jill asks the guys what went down. Jill's stunned. This guy claims he rewound time for a single second. Lilia asks if this is his new magic. Eunice grins. This is the power that made him an archmage. Eunice weaves ribbons and spheres, explaining it's a new technique he found at the edge of the stars. Aligning stars usually takes massive effort, but he flashes back to how it all went down. Eunice grins, claiming he finally did it all with his own strength. He reveals his power only rewinds time for a moment, praising Jill for seizing the opening to kill the boss. Jill hangs on every word. Grinning, he's glad their hard work wasn't in vain, then turns to Lilia. He admits he needed her protection to finish the spell. She just smiles. Hand on his chest, he warns that sacrificed organs are gone for good. He rubs his nose, laughs, and tells Eunice to stand up. Jill asks about the boy's missing organs, but Eunice catches on and reminds everyone they're still trapped in the maze. He scans the walls, noting the spell only works where starry mana is absent. Eunice explains her spell. That's why he was forced to use his own life force. Eunice looks up, asks if they're impressed, and bursts out laughing. The boy admits his insight just burst, leaving the MC frozen in pure horror. He calls Lilia a great saint for saving him. She jokingly agrees. The hero and archmage have titles, so she needs one too. She'll keep thinking. Lily looks up, saying it's too early for that name after everything. Then, someone bursts out laughing. Jill nearly lost her head over her sighs, but Eunice stepped in just in time to save her. Lily winces, admitting she's totally spent and can't even move. Eunice smiles, admitting it's getting harder, then stares at the ceiling as the room falls silent. He thanks his friends. They sit together in silence, supporting each other. Jill and Eunice stare as he awkwardly looks away, muttering, "You're welcome." Gil locks eyes with Eunice, who asks if he can keep crushing floor bosses like before. Eunice's words stunned Gil. He shook his head in denial, hanging his head in frustration. He admits he has no clue how to handle this. Jill scowls. He just took down a boss with a waking effect. Eunice smiled, understanding perfectly. Gil asked if they'd ever been through this before. Lilia grinned, feeling stronger than ever. Her power has clearly hit a new level. Gil wished he could rewind time. Ever since his resurrection, a strange sensation had taken hold. His eyes widen as he realizes he's done this 3 times. This is knowledge. Everyone's heard of it, no matter the form. Eunice shouts it's happened 3 times, and Lilia laughs, joining the trio. Gil knew the most important things happen when life hangs by a thread, strength is tested, or something incredible is found. Grasping a great truth unlocks instant knowledge, making powers skyrocket. He awakens, entering a state where he can finally do the impossible. Jill lands a game-changing blow, turning the tide and getting the whole squad promoted. This fueled their massive growth, launching them to a new tier. If they hadn't stopped, they would have reached that same power. The path keeps shrinking, and past experience is what truly fuels a warrior or mage's power. Eunice suggests retreating, but Gil locks eyes, explaining that knowledge is the ultimate power boost. He asks if the awakening will vanish. Eunice and Lily both confirm it. Gil finally matched his mentor's power from the poison dragon fight. He asks his friends if they can survive the floor boss without using any abilities. Gil dead seriously refused, haunted by the memory of a light beam splitting him in two. Jilu blames his own carelessness. Even at full focus, he was swatted like a fly. He knows the world is massive and he's still a total rookie. He says life means hope, but reaching the surface will take a long time. Gil looks up and declares that coming back beats never returning. Eunice Bode agreed the terms were fair and accepted the deal. He asked Lily for answers, but she just stared back in shock. Eunice asks the girl, was Jill's floor boss a fairy and how strong was he? Lilia calls it a common apocryphal beast. Gil stares in shock, unable to believe his ears. She also called out his mediocre fighting skills. Gil froze, stunned by Lily's words. Horror gripped him as he realized the dark path ahead. The girl explains orcs are unique creatures. Asked if they're magic birds, Lilia smiles and says to just call them birds. She says they're just weak insts, but Lilia's sure these bird types always hunt in packs. The low-rankers are the real nightmare. They're insanely tough and nearly impossible to kill. Stronger beasts lurk behind these birds, and Lily confirms everything is going exactly as Rusty predicted. She slams her staff down, declaring that taking out the commander makes victory easy. Eunice doubted things would get easier, while a stunned Gil still couldn't grasp Lilia's message. Eunice asks if Rusty was always this blunt. Rusty admits she's wondering the same thing. Gil stared in confusion, clueless about the bird, and screamed for them to stop. He claims the boss room is empty. Lilia eyes him closely. Gil suggests it's a different species, but the girl stands firm. She's dead certain. She reveals that every apocryphal creature has a species number on its body, and this one is definitely an orcus. Gil's sweating bullets, but he quickly realizes this beast is actually weaker than his previous foes. Gil questioned the truth and laughed, realizing he had no choice but to accept reality. Lilia asks Hill if he's feeling down. He hesitates, claiming he isn't sad. The beast crushed Gil, proving he was just the strongest of the weak. Humility didn't help. Hanging his head, he admitted he'd completely overestimated his own power. Gil's pride finally broke him. Lilia tried to comfort him, but he insisted he was fine while Eunice gushed over how cool he was. Some thrive on failure, but not Jill. He's ditching his pride for a fresh start. Gil accepted the truth. Even with new intel, they stood no chance against that massive apocryphal monster. Lilia and Eunice listen as Eunice pats the boy's shoulder, telling him to cheer up. Gil insists he's fine. Eunice snaps that's even more reason to head back. Face that monster again and they're finished. Knowledge won't save them, no matter how many times they try to fix it. Eunice agreed but mentioned a detail. Lily pressed for info, and after a beat, he confirmed he knew. Eunice confronts Gil. Did he really take out the third-floor boss? A shocked Gil confirms the truth, but Eunice drops a bomb. He didn't just die, Gil murdered him. The boy doubles down. Gil's magic ball wrecked the hall, but he still crushed the boss while falling into the abyss. The crowd erupts. He fell 3 stories with Hill and survived, just now walking out of his house. Eunice asks if the fight was real. Gil confirms it. They head out, but the guy suddenly stops dead. He clamped his mouth shut. Eunice asked for the boss's number, and Jin reluctantly confirmed he had it. Gil scrawls LXVIIL and stares down Eunice. Eunice looks to Lilia, who instantly gets the message. She calls him a weakling, but his power is massive. Lilia calls him stronger than a nightmare. Eunice reveals Jill's last kill wasn't the real floor boss, leaving Jill sweating with pure hype. Deeper levels mean stronger bosses, no exceptions. Their unique skills decide the real difficulty. Mana scales with every floor, making it bizarre that Gil faced such a beast on only floor 3. That was just the beginning. Gil listened, his mind spiraling into chaos. Floor bosses are room-locked. Eunice doesn't get the logic, but that's the labyrinth's mystery, and even regular monsters are stuck. Keep the door shut and orcas won't attack. Gil is stunned. Even the weaker apocryphal beast escaped, transforming to reveal its true essence. Unis realize the third-floor manager is an apocryphal beast that broke free from the labyrinth. Gil spots Junison's shock. The boy suggests a new angle, and Gil asks how. Unis thinks the labyrinth's chains are failing, but Gil argues weak chains couldn't hold this much mana. Unis just shrugs, admitting he's clueless. Long ago in the Age of Legends, the air itself buzzed with magic. Monsters surfaced peacefully once more, returning as humanity's natural enemies. Gil's stunned. Was it too long ago? Does Eunice actually believe that could happen to them? Unis confirmed the worst. Gil froze in shock, but Unis didn't stop there. This isn't just a beast, it's a living legend ripped straight from ancient history. Gil cuts Unis off, fearing the era of Apocrypha is returning. Clutching his head in despair, he wonders, can they really stop history from repeating? Gil's stunned. Is it all just a myth? His friend wonders, is the third floor actually special? He'll ask Lily's take. She frowned, deep in thought. Lilia reveals missing pages in the Apocrypha, and a stunned Gil demands answers. She reveals that 700 years ago, the Great Library burned, destroying ancient sacred texts. It wasn't just him. The first 7 copies were fine, but from the second manuscript on, everything became a total, unreadable blur. Reading these as a kid, Lilia noticed the gaps. Was the king executed? How did Rusty actually fight? Truth's out, Rusty didn't kill the fallen king, he just sealed him here. Gil's stunned by her words, but Unis just gives a cryptic smile and agrees. Someone built this place. Rusty designed the core to hide the fallen king's energy inside this pseudo-labyrinth. Unis thinks the burned pages held the description of this place. Lilia suspects arson. Eunice stays silent, and Gil warns the chains are finally weakening. He asks if the monsters are escaping, but Lilia warns it's actually much worse. The girl screams. The labyrinth seal is breaking. Gil stares in confusion as the first cracks appear. Gil asks Lily if the seal will break, fearing a printer failure as Unis weighs the risks. This isn't the end. The labyrinth still hides apocryphal beasts, including elite monsters far more powerful than anything they've faced. They hit the surface at once. Eunice warns there's no fixing this, it's game over. Lilia warns there's more. If the fallen king wakes, mana floods the world. She warns their world is doomed, just like the ancients. Hill listens, eyes wide with horror. Gil's totally lost. He looks up and shouts, that's even more reason to turn back. The world needs the truth. Gil insists they escape this maze and expose everything. He couldn't deny their power, but strength alone doesn't make you the best. Gil warns, swallow your pride and seek help from those even stronger. The boy stops, eyeing Lily and Unis. They stare at the ground in silence, their submissive posture setting off alarm bells. Gil asks if time's up. Unis warns a solar eclipse is coming. Unis felt a crushing weight inside. Either the seal was breaking, or someone on the surface was finally making a move. Gil asks again, and Uni mentions the city's cathedral, wondering why it's so massive. If this is the key to printing, hear us what happens next. Gil cuts Unis off, horrified. Is someone actually planning to destroy the cathedral? Unis agrees. Lilia notes that after killing the Swordmaster, the fallen king's follower reached the cathedral. She figured it was for a flawless plan. Gil suspected Godak, and Eunice confirmed he'd totally failed him. He says it's time to go, and Lily agrees. They need to move now. Despite his warped sense of time, Unis says the eclipse hits in 3 days at noon. He's lost count of the floors, but if they don't seal this place soon, it's all over. Lily tells Gil it's none of his business, leaving him stunned. Lilia gets serious. She and Yuri's are on a mission, and if either leaves, sealing the fallen king becomes impossible. The girl tells Gil he's not needed for the mission. Gil hangs his head in defeat. He knew he was dead meat, but let's be real, he always was. If a massive monster crosses their path, forget winning, death is guaranteed. Lily stops and beams, thanking Gil for the long walk. She's glowing now, telling him he's already done more than enough. Broken by despair, he realizes this labyrinth forces him to face his weaknesses head-on. Without glasses, he can't even fight. Now Jill is dead, leaving his loved ones defenseless. He drops a wild plan as the eclipse looms. Time is running out, and Unis warns their long journey is just beginning. Gil stayed silent. Lilia watched him anxiously, but Unis saw the truth. The boy had no reason left to fight. He begged Gil to die for the world, while Eunice demanded they hit the lowest level. Jill's heart raced with dread, crushed by the massive weight of his new responsibility. Gil knelt, hands out, confessing he knows nothing but the sword. Lilia's shocked he's serious, while Gil realizes his sense of direction is non-existent. If no one's around, he'll never see the sky again. Lily smiles and thanks him. Supported by Lilia and Eunice, Gil stands up, finally remembering his mission: conquer the labyrinth. Eunice and Lilia beamed, thrilled Jill was staying for the trip. The trio pressed on. Their steps were heavy, but their eyes burned with hope. Asked which road to take, he just smiles and trusts his intuition. Kuraha remembers that name from her childhood. Ancient legends call it a monster, the fallen king's deadliest servant. He appeared in the city. Arlen looked up in shock as monster debris rocketed straight toward her. Did the fallen king wake up? She shook it off, no time for distractions. She rushed ahead, yelling for Karaka to move. They had to reach the cathedral fast. Otherwise, this city becomes scorched earth. Kuraha gets the message. Holland sent her with Arlene, promising to return once he found his family. She weighs her next move between Gil, Hadak, and Godland, haunted by the memory of Gil staying behind in the labyrinth. Kuraha was desperate, praying for a savior as she looked ahead. Kuraha freezes. Arlen turns back, but Kuraha waves her off, signaling her to go on alone. The city is in total chaos. Panicked residents ditch everything and flee as the world crumbles around them. Apricot spots a girl in the ruins. She's lost her mom and begs to know if she's safe. Gorky sobbed in terror. Kira approached, grabbed a stick, and started clearing the wreckage. She's in. Kurak shoves the stone aside and pulls her into a hug. Kuraka weighs her options, remembering how she failed to help Hyla in the past. Kira smiled, helping the girl up. After a quick thank you, Kira knew everything was about to change. She hoists the girl up and turns, only to find two massive spider monsters flanking them. A monster lunges. Kuraka wonders how these labyrinth beasts even got here. She tried to fight back, but it was hopeless. We had to run. A massive monster charges Kira, but two figures leap in to block it. One turns and calls out to her. A blonde man approaches the chicken and the girl, asking if they're okay. Holland puffs his cigarette, reporting they're nearly at the cathedral. Now, it's time to save the wounded. Kuraha calls out, catching him off guard. Suddenly, a man she met earlier staggers over, grabs his collar, and demands answers. Kureka tries to speak, but the blonde cuts her off, screaming Hoslin should have escaped ages ago. Golan pulls back, finished. He clutches his head. None of it matters anymore. He tried convincing her to join the Holy Knights, but nothing worked. Koshlin was certain Kureka wouldn't budge, no matter what they tried. Smiling, he says she looks just like them, noting that Kuraha is just as weak and inexperienced. She pushes forward, refusing to quit. Halblin remembers their training under Godak. Pushed aside, she refused to quit and stubbornly forged a new path. Golan says Kuraha is relentless and never backs down. He promised Kuraha would be a legendary adventurer, but she just stared back, drowning in despair. Someone notes this is exactly why Kuraka had to leave before things went south. He yells she should have acted before rotting like the others, before Kuraha was trapped in inescapable chains. She nearly became a pathetic shadow like the rest. Silence grips the room as everyone listens with bowed heads. The boy calms as his friend pats his head. Hodlin lights a smoke while Kurak watches every move. She vowed not to run, shocking the crowd, while Holland smirked. Everything was going exactly as he predicted. Kuroha asks if the rule applies to them. Otherwise, why come fully armed? She asks if they're still in. The kid roars hell yes. Shocked, she rallies the group. If not us, then who? Their families live here. Stay close and protect them. Golan smoked in silence, agreeing with every word as he remembered their deep, heart-to-heart talks. He remembered the group asking Hadak, did the guild actually mean anything to him? He finally feels it. Having found the support he lacked, he's determined to help the next generation find their footing too. He always dreamed of being the support that pushed others to greatness. Then, Holland remembers naming their guild. The man yells that failing to defend the city means they aren't S-rank heroes, as Hanslund rallies everyone to show real grit. Future plans cost their dignity. Holland watches the girl reunite with her parents as Kuraga waves goodbye. He orders her to stay alive. Kuraha obeys, and the S-rank adventurers charge into battle. Everyone charges the monsters, as Holland leads his archers to the high ground for a clear shot. Kuraka herds everyone to the cathedral, but a monster breaks through and charges straight for her. She spots him and tosses a pouch, triggering a blinding flash. Kuraka shields her eyes as the flash grenade detonates, stalling the beast. That was enough. Kuraka shouted for everyone to move. The path was finally clear. Gofflin yells that 5th Street is clear. Fall back now and send backup to the east. Holland orders his team to fire at will and leave no survivors. The archers unleash a relentless storm of arrows, pinning the monsters back. The hen catches her breath, wipes her sweat, and eyes the top. Seeing Herlin point to the class, she knows she nailed the task and smiles at his hand. Karika spots the beast charging straight for them, her eyes wide with pure terror. The girl screams at the head to turn back, but a massive bird monster suddenly appears beside him. Everyone was down as the monster landed. Holland watched the bird strike. Her feathers were pure steel. Jocelyn plummeted, seeing even Kuraka couldn't resist the fall. They hit the deck. Kuraka checks on Exilin, who clutches his head and says he's fine, thanking the girl for the save. Alina warns of a bigger threat, while the man orders her to pack up fast. They're staring death in the face. That same massive monster is back. Both stare him down. A voice rings out. Holland demands to know who's there. The beast is finally hooked. Kuraha calls for help, but Hazen shuts her down. It's still too early. A shout for action rings out. Holland turns to see mages already swarming the monster. Wizards blast the monster with energy, binding it tight. Kuraka cheers for the catch, but Hodland warns it's too soon to celebrate. He ordered them to fire while the beast was frozen. Holland demanded a non-stop hail of arrows. Don't give it a second to breathe. Arrows whistle through the air, homing in on the monster as Kuraha tracks every move. She realized they were targeting his wings, the standard move against any flyer. Gorland orders his archers to fire until they drop, then grabs a bow and locks onto the beast. Feathers won't stop a point-blank shot. Suddenly, Karaka realized the truth. She screamed for Holland to stop, warning him of a massive mistake. The insties are actually dragons. She shouts a warning, and instantly the monster erupts, blasting everyone with a torrent of flames. Holland barely blinks as Kuroha lunges, shielding him from the fire strike. Stunned, the man wonders why she's here, but Honklin barks at her to leave now. Kureka grins, telling Holland to hit the weak point. Holland grits his teeth, calling him a total idiot. Kureka knew the secret: master your hand, even if the cards look like trash. Everything has its use. That's when the card you must protect finally appears. During the team battle, Kuraha appears and gets impaled by a fire strike, screaming in agony. The chicken erupted in flames, torching everything nearby, just like the adventure stories she loved as a kid. Dragon breath is a lethal risk and a golden chance. These dreams make Kuroha's heart race. She's craved adventure since she was a kid. The monster won't stop, so a furious Gargland unleashes the Lord of Wind's bow with everything he's got. Hall stops, calls for Kurha, and rushes to check on her. Holland asks if she's alive. Kureka whispers yes, struggling to raise her hand. Holland beams with joy. He ordered her to stay put while he rushed to the cathedral for a healer, telling her to hang on until he returned. Hoglin admits he couldn't have killed the beast without Karaha. He looks at her with deep gratitude, praising her for a job well done. Kuraka felt awful, forcing a smile to joke through her despair. Holland promises to handle the monsters while the girl rests. She thanks him. Holland realized Karaka saved the whole city. She's getting a medal the moment she wakes up. Screams erupt. Goslin looks up to see a swarm of flying monsters filling the sky, charging straight for the city. He drops his cigarette in shock as the crowd panics. One monster was a nightmare. Now, a whole pack stands before them. Holland froze, paralyzed by terror. The crowd stared in shock as someone screamed his name. A man orders everyone to the cathedral, vowing to hold the line and buy time. Hoslan stares in total disbelief. The kingdom is facing total ruin. Hasalona is summoned and deployed immediately. Kura ordered him out, but the man roared in fury. His ally commanded the survivors to go all out. We join them. He distract the monsters, even if only for a few seconds. He orders them to fire. Gorland turns, spotting a winged monster igniting the sky. Nothing else mattered now. He bolted. Holland knew he was trapped as the flames closed in, leaving the other archers frozen in horror. Kahl screams in despair. Everyone fights for survival, but he stands frozen, helplessly watching the horror. Monsters swarm us fast, then a boy with a sword drops from the sky. Eunice charges the monsters. Kira spots a silhouette, but can't identify the person standing in front of her. Eunice smiles, they're right on time, but the eclipse won't start until dawn. He raises his hand. Eunice is ready to show the power he earned surviving every trial as a Supreme Star Mage. The boy's got true power. Eunice summons a meteor shower, obliterating the monsters one by one. Lilia waves to the crowd, spotting a soldier and a stunned Arnolate. She joyfully announces her return and apologizes for the delay while Arnolate celebrates the Saint-S. Arnolate demands to know where Lilia's been, snaps at her to watch her tone in public, then fills her in on the city's crisis. Arnolat reports mass casualties and chaos. 3 cathedral roads are blocked, and a swarm of instas makes things worse. Lilia gives her full trust to handle it. She sighs, still willing to help Arnolate. She enters the building and the crowd erupts, chanting her name. She finds a woman collapsed, while a little girl screams that something's wrong with her mother. Lilia tells her not to worry, but Arnolate looks up to see the massive monster birds terrified and crashing down. Lily kneels and chants, boldly declaring that the victims end here. A blinding flash fills the room. Arnali shields her eyes, turning to see the mother finally awake. The girl cheers and tackles her mom in a massive hug. Arnlet saw the woman heal instantly, shaking her to the core. Pure joy hit. Lilia was alive. A blinding light erupts. Wounds vanish instantly as everyone's health surges back. Havelin looks up in shock, then spins to see Kura nearby, staring at her palms. Her wounds vanish instantly and her strength surges back. As she stands, a boy's silhouette suddenly appears. He turns. Gil stands before Kura with a grin, apologizing for getting lost. Gil was exhausted. He'd been scouring every corner for hours without a single break. 3 days on the hill, fighting every monster in my path. It was brutal, non-stop exhaustion. Guilt yells for Kurak, demanding to know where he is. The girl replies, "I'm right here." He whips around, stunned. He had no idea she was standing right there. Gil spotted Holland tracking his every move. He frowned, remembering their shared plan for the future. Holland's dazed. Hill grills Kuraka for the truth, while Eunice claims she's his only ally left. When the beasts attacked, everyone fled to the cathedral, while guards secured exits and rescued the weak. Then the apocryphal beasts arrived. Kuraha knew they'd be dead without them, and Gil pondered the truth. He asks what she knows about apocryphal beasts and their leader, but she counters, admitting she's never met anyone like him. Gil targets the cathedral. The man knows a little more waiting will reveal the truth. Hill asks Karai to take him there, and she smiles, agreeing instantly. Holland steps behind the man, calls him a hero, and asks for their next move. Gil spun around in shock. Holland calmly offered help, leaving the young man to weigh his options. Kuroha warns no one escapes. He looks her in the eye and says he gets it. Gil rejects their help, telling them to focus on saving others instead. Gil says he's counting on them, and the man promises they've got it handled. Kuraga points out a massive building hidden behind a house. Gil weighs the intel. She's stunned, but he's laser-focused on Kuraka's display. Realizing Gil can't see, she tells him to wait. She hands him the glasses. Kuraha kept them just to deliver them personally. Thinking the glasses broke in the last fight, she carefully opens the box. Gil adjusts his glasses under the girl's watchful gaze, flashing a massive, joyful grin. Kuroha asks if the glasses are safe, and Hill cheers instantly. He snaps on the glasses, shouting with joy as the city, stars, and sky finally come into focus. Gil pointed out everything, buildings, stones, even dogs. Not a single detail escaped him. The boy cheers. His new glasses let him see everything. Jill asks if it's cool, and a stunned Kuroha hesitantly agrees. She stared. Gil grinned, draping his cloak over Kuroha's shoulders. Hill's glasses reveal every detail, and he spots Kurak shivering. She smiles and thanks him. Gil winks and bolts, shouting they need to reach the cathedral now. Karaka yells he's going the wrong way, smirking that even with glasses, Hill is still totally lost. Lilia heads downstairs and finds Jill looking different. He just smirks. It's called wearing glasses. She smiles, calling him lucky since the glasses look great. Hill grins and agrees. Lily's got good news. A stunned Hill waits for the details. She and Eunice drained every drop of energy on printing and massive spells. They're out of mana. Gil's stunned. How is this good news? He spins at the sound of footsteps while Kuraha watches closely. Lily greets them with a warm smile. Jill's taking him 1v1. Kura asks if he's the same guy from before as a man approaches. Asked if the leader is a Stelilia, the saint calmly confirms she knew it all along. It's a forbidden artifact. The Curia asks Lilia if she means Erasum. Kura eyed the legendary gear. Only 13 of the Fallen King's artifacts exist. Nilia knew the moment he grabbed the sword, the Fallen King's hatred consumed him. All this just to revive the Fallen King. Gil tells Godech to hear the boy out. Gil says the abyss is resealed. Even if the cathedral falls, the Fallen King is trapped for good. He charges straight in, yelling for Jill to run. He can't solo the exterminator. Kura and Lilia watch every move. Gil's shocked he's still conscious. Against an S-rank, this was inevitable. He warned that this magic blade is unbeatable. Gil draws his sword and asks Godek if this is why he summoned Jill. The boy knew for years he couldn't win alone. Gil realized they both saw the truth. Without help, the Fallen King would rise. Using his last bit of strength, he sends Gil away. He tried sealing the labyrinth, but warned even Gil couldn't handle it. They had to run fast. Gil admits he's inexperienced, but this blade will prove he made the right call. Gil's finally back. He grins, ready for the fight. Gil watched his foe turn into a monster. He knew the first strike decides the fight half the time. The doctor's hand grows massive, and Gil strikes first, charging straight into the fight. He swings, but the boy realizes the blow is already blocked. Godok snatches Geneva in a massive grip, but the boy slices his way free. He shoves Gil aside and leaps back to dodge her next strike. Gil slashes and stays alert, quickly realizing Hodak's recovery speed is insane. His body heals instantly. Gil spots her charging back. Only two ways to beat him. First, keep attacking until his mana runs out. The branch's sword guts him, slicing his body in half. He glares at Godok, and the boy realizes he stands no chance against such a monster. He starts smashing everything, but Gil realizes there's still another way. He lunges at the enemy, aiming for a one-hit kill. He splits lightning with his 8th sword, dealing Godok a decisive blow. Gil decapitates Godok in one swing. Steam rises from the body. Gil watches closely as a strange bubbling sound erupts. Strange sounds echo, magic erupts, and a massive blast levels everything. Gil barely stands. Years of suppressed power are the only reason he's still alive. A massive chasm opens from the blast. Gil realizes striking Godok with his magic sword caused the destruction. Gil watches Godok's head regenerate. It started with the sword that pierced Godok's soul and shattered the barrier. Now, new teeth and a jaw sprout from the body. Until now, the monster snarls and lunges, striking Gil. The swordsman just reappeared. Shocked, the boy barely holds back Godok's strikes. Gil sensed the sword's fury. It wasn't just anger, it was pure madness, a feeling he'd never encountered. The boy stares down the monster. It's regenerated ahead, a twisted face of eyes and teeth. The sword hunter finally felt true fear. The guild vowed to shatter that blade, but he aimed his weapon straight at Godok. This wasn't just waking up, it was bizarre. Gil's soul was racing, leaving his body and mind in the dust. This is true swordsmanship. He strikes at Gil, but he dodges. Gil tracked every move. Suddenly grabbed, he stays cool and instantly slices off the fingers holding him. His stump bled pure despair. He finally realized he'd never reach this level of power on his own. Gil knew they were finished if they didn't find them, flashing back to Saint Godok and Eunice's eternal smile. He knew giving up meant he'd never break his limits. Gil smiles, remembering Kuraka and thanking his past. He's already prepping his next strike. The monster closed in, and he silently thanked everyone who helped him get this far. Gil grins, slicing the monster's torso with a secret piercing technique. Gil triggers the move, and an exhausted Godok crawls from the shell, collapsing instantly. Sword drawn, he tracks a mysterious sound, and finally reaches the waiting group. Gil laughed as the crowd cheered, asking if they were really that worried about him. Kuraka grins, Lily beams, and Eunice sits on a roof barking at everything. Gil smiled, still in disbelief. The boy raised his hand in joy, finally finding relief after everything he'd endured. Later, Gil's out cold in his own bed, but Lilia's voice keeps haunting his dreams. He sees the girl hammering a pot with a ladle, making a massive racket to force Gil awake. Gil's running on zero sleep, eyes barely open. The girl greets him, and after a silent, wide-eyed stare, he finally mutters a good morning back. Days later, Gil buttons his shirt with a new haircut. Lily asks if the guy is really leaving, suggests waking him up early, and wonders if Gil's mad. He says no, thanking Lilia for the early wake-up call. Grinning mischievously, she hides the ladle behind her back and slips out. Lilia promises not to disturb him, telling him to wash and change. She doesn't care if he does, she just wants him to hurry up. Lilia bolts out. Gil grins, eyes shut, picturing her in an apron. He blushes, realizing nothing beats this morning view. Gil tried to suppress his feelings, but the truth finally clicked. Seeing Eunice talk to her, he made a choice. Anyone calling Lily an old hag is dead meat. Eunice suddenly appears, interrupting them. He greets her with a grin, and she notes they haven't met since early morning. Gil smiles awkwardly while Eunice, already hyped despite the early hour, chuckles quietly. Eunice was heading to bed, feeling like a squeezed lemon. He asked Gil if he'd be staying for breakfast. He agreed. They hit the dining hall and spotted Lily waving from the back. Everyone's beaming, and Gil figures Lily's already started eating without them. Everyone sits for breakfast as Lilia happily munches on her bread. Knowing their time was short, Eunice asked Gil if he was leaving soon. Gil agrees to leave by noon. Lily calmly offers a cart, noting a Paratron already asked, but Gil refuses. Now she finally understands. Everyone devours the massive feast. Eunice asks if they're leaving after breakfast, and Gil confirms. He heads to the hospital, asking if they've finally come to their senses. Lilia happily confirms. Jill sips his tea and smiles. It's finally time to fulfill his long-overdue promise. Lilia smiles, grabs her tea, and admits everything's finally clear. Gil tries to mention their promise, but Lily cuts him off, reminding him to write. Eunice and Jill go silent. Seconds later, it clicks. The girl asks if they forgot, and Lilia calls them out. She asks Gil to write whenever he settles in a city, and he smiles, promising it's no trouble. Lilia asks if they remember her beautiful handwriting, and Eunice realizes it's the perfect secret code. Gil watched silently, warning his letters would be boring. Lily couldn't wait, and Eunice pushed him to make them interesting. Gil smiled, promising to try. He bowed, grinning. Lilia and Eunice beamed, faces lit with pure joy. Gil leaves the table as Lilia and Eunice both warn him to stay safe and watch over the boy. Lily signals him. Gil whips around, stunned. She grins, asking for a goodbye kiss, leaving Gil frozen in total disbelief. Eunice and Lilia don animal gloves, laughing as Lilia tells Hyla to get ready for a kiss. Eunice and Jill pranks Jill, leaning in with clasped gloves for a childish kiss. He didn't see this coming. Stunned, he scowls in disbelief, and Jill clearly hates it. The boy grabs their gloves, ready to give them a taste of their own medicine. He boops the lilies with the toys, making them chirp in sync until they both burst into laughter. Jill's surprised. This is way more interesting than he expected. He tugs Eunice's cheek with a toy, then the trio joins hands. Lily turns to a shocked Eunice and Gil, smiling warmly as she promises they'll meet again. Gil leaves the gates, turns back, and smiles. It was all destiny. Gil kicks off his journey at a hospital, where a nurse points him straight to the 4th floor. Gil finds the room and knocks. A voice calls him inside. Gil enters, skipping the apologies. Before him sits a bandaged boy, flanked by Gil's crew. Godak bolts from bed and calls out, but the kid warns him to take it easy. Gil warns his body hasn't recovered from the magic sword yet. Stay down and rest. He bows in apology, muttering he has to beat Hill there. Gil's here for one last visit before heading out. He hands her flowers, and she thanks him for the gesture. He looked away, crushed by guilt. Jill forbade apologies, but he still had to speak. He can't repay or apologize to Gil, who stares back, trying to read his every emotion. He bragged about trapping him, stabbing his back, and leaving him for dead in the maze. Gil realized he'd been played again. The Saint and Archmage resealed the power, while Gil smashed the apocryphal gear, saving the city and the entire world. Hills smiled through the guilt, stunned by their progress. For someone like him, this was supposed to be impossible. To thank Gil or beg forgiveness, he'd risk everything, even his life. Gil snapped at Hadesh's words, ordering him to shut up and never mention it again. He didn't get why Jill was arguing. Suddenly, a man steps up to clarify. Hill didn't care, even while nearly killing the guy. He just wanted to beat him senseless. He stared at Gil with pure sorrow, failing to grasp his meaning. All Gil said was that Godak had no choice. He watches him closely, warning that a single mistake would have cost Jill her life. He explained that the Gothaha members lurking nearby kept begging Gil for forgiveness. Between what he did to Gil, their own cowardice, and sins so dark they lost the right to be called adventurers. Jill says he's totally indifferent to everything. I'm stunned by what I just heard. He claims he wasn't forced into the labyrinth or lured into a trap. The boy trusted him. The man looked up, and Gil added that everyone gives their all. Fate's a trip, their strengths and flaws put them here. Now they have to choose how to face it. Jill grinned, admitting that despite the struggle, he's glad they took this brutal path. Overwhelmed and speechless, he quickly hides his face as tears fall. Gil's proud that despite his cursed body, he's the sword chosen to pave the way. On his narrow path, Godak sobs into the sheets, face buried in his hands. Gil's whole life led to this moment. He bows, thanking the man for the chance to save the world. Gil finally leaves the hospital after years. He takes one last look, smiles, and moves on. Gil spots a line of carts and Arnalata, busy barking orders at the workers. She turns and spots the boy, stunned. A worker recognizes Hill and freezes. Every eye locks onto Gil, the city's savior. Cheers erupt as the crowd hails him as a hero, liberator, and teacher. The kid rejects the Mr. title, forcing an apology. Jill just values their saint that much. Respect was mandatory. Gil said he understood. Someone laughed and apologized, calling him a true gentleman again. A girl in glasses approaches, spilling everything about Jill's death and legendary power. She has no clue Jill's returning, but promises the town's full support whenever he needs it. Jill knew her as Arnolate, Lily's servant. Sipping water, he figured she was a good person. Smiling, the girl offers help, hearing from Lilia that he's leaving. Gil nods, confirming it. He asks Arnolate for Curaha. She jumps up, shouting to everyone that Gil wants her. She asked for the girl, and the crowd erupted, hailing Mr. Hill as their hero and savior. The girl says Curaka's returning soon. Arn Lilith smiles and thanks her. Beaming with joy, Arnolata told Gil everything was settled. He just had to wait a little longer. Nalate heads back to work, leaving Gil sweating in shame over this awkward mess. Already hailed as a hero, he turns to find Ghostland right in front of him. He notices the clothes and tries to speak, but Holland cuts him off. He's leaving today. Gil understood. He asked if Hosland had been to Hodok recently. Hosland smiled and confirmed it. Now everything clicked. Hogland stops dead, turns to Gil, and admits he can never repay the hero. Gilly's heard this 1,000 times before. He cut to the chase. How's the research? Poland stunned. Gil's the reason everything's perfect. Now that the fallen king is resealed, the leaking evil is finally vanishing. Navigating the maze is easier, but its twisted layout still keeps the deep levels out of reach. They set up camps along the path to claim the land. Gil sipped water and answered. Everything finally clicked. He warns them again, enter those doors with caution. A monster could be lurking, so stay sharp even if it looks empty. Holland gets it. He joins the first deep-level expedition to keep watch, and Gil is counting on him. In a crisis, you need as many people as possible who can kill apocryphal beasts. Hoglin agreed and sat down, leaving him and Jill side by side under the awning. Holland asks if that's why Gila's here. Gila confirms, and Holland finally understands everything. Gil spots backpackers ahead. A girl notices him, shouts, and sprints straight for him. They meet and Gil's already shaking. Hodland asks why, and he admits it's his first time. Holland mocks him, asking if he's a great hero, but Curaha is completely baffled. Goblin shoved him, demanding action. Gil winced, face flushing as he finally muttered his promise, drawing the girl's gaze. Jill panics, stammering that Haraha likely forgot the details. She cuts him off, shocked. Gil remembers. Carrick sets the bag down. He panics as she tearfully insists she's innocent and doesn't deserve this. Curaha admits the girl would have failed alone without Hodgland, Arnolate, and the group's support. Curaha bows, distancing herself from the drama, while Gil just smirks. He's no different than asks if Curakan understands. Jill's fine with a kick in the butt. He only did what he could. Curacab breaks down, but Hill doesn't flinch, vowing to always push his limits. To slay the escaped beast and survive the coming darkness, he'll need his allies. Gil's allies know there's no shame in asking for help. He reached out to the unstoppable Karagi, asking for her help with a smile. The guild warns his sense of direction is trash. Alone, he'll never even find the roots. Karaka sobbed as her lifelong dream finally became reality. Gil offers a deal, help him on his journey, and he'll teach her the sword. She wept in pure despair. Kuraka's lifelong dream of becoming an adventurer was shattered. She felt unworthy, haunted by her childhood dreams of becoming a hero. She's not quitting. She joins his quest with a smile and a handshake, vowing never to back down again. 3 years ago, Gil begged a girl for shelter. She figured he was just lost. 3 days of eating dirt. Is this even food? He's only allowed to stay in this house for a limited time. She warns that Jill's sword spells trouble in the city, and the boy breaks down in tears. She offers shelter if he stays out of trouble. Gil's grateful, but he's still hungry and asks for a meal. She invites him in. He smiles, introducing himself as Gil, the dragon slayer. Gil promised to help, she just had to ask. She draws her sword in silence. Some say it happened ages ago, others swear it was yesterday. Gil starts writing to Eunice and Lilia, checking in on them while sharing news from the east. He came for a top-eye doctor but went dead broke. Now, thanks to new friends, he's staying for good. Labyrinth chaos finally over. Gil asks if Lilia is at the cathedral and Eunanes is back at the library, demanding a reply the moment they get his letter. Gil asks if they've taught before. As a total rookie, he's lost and ready for their advice. Hild writes Lilia a letter, his written words sounding nothing like his voice. In bed, she reads it with a massive grin. Gil wrote Eunice, admitting his code was so complex he couldn't crack it for a week, but she was just thrilled to finally hear from him. Gil reads Lilia's letter to him and Eunice, begging them never to change. She asks Gil to return the mysterious old woman, signing off with love. He reads the letter where Eunice claims he has no friends, let alone students. Eunice tells Gilly to think twice and remember her, finally signing off after 6 hours. Sincerely yours, Arch. Gil smiled and closed the letters, planning his reply. He detailed them asking Eunice and Lilia was a total waste of time. Kurika approaches the boy who called her. He stares back, demanding answers. She figured monsters were lurking ahead, blocking their path. Giluster asks if they can walk, and she says they'll manage. Kura insists the map shows a road, but Hill just smiles. It's been 2 weeks since they left the city. The trip stayed chill, so Gil and Karaka finished the journey on foot. This adventure is anything but calm. The optician is closing, and their van is about to die. This is no calm adventure. Jill constantly ditches the trail to carve her own path. Strange things followed the boy, and Hill had never seen anything like it. Before he could even catch his breath, he was suddenly in a completely unknown place. Gil always hits the high ground to scout the area. He'd just go with the flow until he hit the ocean. Jill remembered being buried alive and swore it would never happen again. Gil never dreamed he'd be hitting multiple locations at once without a single worry. He closed his eyes, lost in thought, until Kurika grabbed his jacket and he spun around instantly. She stops him cold, yelling that he doesn't need to follow Jill's call. He stares back, stunned. He smiles, claiming he's just looking. Jill notes the flowers haven't bloomed yet, and the girl agrees. Karika notes the trees should be leafy by now. Gil asks if she's a plant expert, but she denies it. Karika cites her guidebook, and the man nods along. To Gil, they look exactly like a teacher and student. Karaha never failed him. She asks Gil about their lesson from 3 days ago, but he's clueless. She takes her stance, questioning her grip. Gil says it all depends on the fight. He shows her a better grip to stop the wobble and pack way more power into every swing. Gil gained knowledge and battle experience against Inst, but his deep grasp of the sword's essence was the real standout. His mentor would blame Jill for everything, just like when he scolded him for daydreaming mid-sword practice. After the long speech, Gil realized he finally held a sword too. Kurika notes every detail while Gil grins, clearly thrilled. Training was going perfectly, and that's exactly what worried Gil. Kira spots Gil's loose shoelace and crouches to help, but he brushes her off, insisting he's got it. She cheers that his shoes are almost fixed. Gil blushes and thanks her, but Haru just smiles. It's no big deal. Gil wonders if Kuroha finds this fair. She's prepping for the journey with total focus, handling every tiny detail and leaving zero loose ends. It's bleeding into his daily life. Jill fears he'll soon be physically dependent on her, and the thought leaves him horrified. Kurhara backed Hyla and taught her the sword. She worried he was overheating, but he insisted they stay equals. Gil knew the corn incident left Kurak indebted, tipping the scales in his favor, and he hated it. Gil racked his brain to help the girl, until a sudden idea struck him like a bolt of lightning. Gil calls Kura, she turns, and he sprints over, hyped that he found a mushroom. He doubts anyone can find him in the directory, but then he spots a lethal threat, a poisonous mushroom. One bite kills instantly, but mountain squirrels are immune. They feast on these mushrooms like snacks. Lost hikers often mistake wild mushrooms for food. Gil nods, soaking it in. She apologizes for interrupting, but he just smiles it off. Karaha asks for questions, but Gil just calls the mushroom delicious despite the ulcers and fever. Silence falls. She's stunned. Gil realizes he needs to gatekeep his cooking secrets.